As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome, everybody, to Crunch Time with Jeff, Booner, Lukas, and Gentry. Hey, we got the fellas together. We got the core four. Talking some Lions, Buccaneers.
Core four.
The core four. It's Tuesday, September 17th. We got a lot to get to today. Top 10 Tuesday. We'll see where. Maybe the Bills will be in some of our top 10s. Maybe they won't. We'll see how it goes. I'm curious what direction we go with that. We'll talk a lot about the game, and of course a little bit about this upcoming game. What do we expect out of that as well? But a lot of quotes came out today. Hey, Dan was talking about a little bit of the offense. Hey, you saw the 49ers as well. Deebo Samuel out a couple weeks, along with Christian McCaffrey, who's already on IR. So, hey, although the Lions are 1-1, all around the NFC, look around. The Eagles just lost. 49ers suffering more injuries. Both those teams are 1-1 now. Does, a little easier to digest being 1-1 at this point.
Easy. Way easier.
Yeah, and that game last night, I think I felt good about the line. Not felt good about the Lions losing. I was more comfortable about the Lions losing this week when you talk about the 49ers dropping one. It seems like all these good teams around the NFL just played poorly this weekend. But the fact that the Falcons with like 40 seconds left, no timeouts, were able to come back just like that against the Eagles. I know a lot of people are like now thinking the Eagles are not that, but I just think the Falcons are a very solid team, and they were able to expose the weakness of Philadelphia's defense, and that was just a crazy game. Good win for the Falcons. It helps the Lions.
Big time win for Atlanta.
I mean, it kind of gave me flashbacks to the Lions game, the way like the Eagles were play calling in the red zone those last two drives. It was just brutal. But like you said, it definitely did ease the pain. But I think just like those two teams, I think they'll be okay, just like the Lions. Even the 49ers battling injuries, I think they're still built for it. I think their defense will still hold up, and they still have some guys that can step up on offense. So us included, I'm not worried.
I think, listen, and I'm just going to be honest with the people. I always am. NFC is wide open right now, and I'm tell you what, I don't care. I don't care if the Lions lost to the Bucs. The Lions are still the better football team, have the better roster. Right now, the Lions are the number one team still in the NFC. I don't care if they're 1 for 7 in the red zone. You're lucky we didn't punch one in and beat you. You should have never been in the game in the first place. So the Lions are the best team in the NFC, not in football. We'll go over our power rankings later. Listen,
hold on.
The Eagles are 2-7 in their last 9 football games. 2-7. Not worried about the Eagles whatsoever in the NFC. I don't know if they're going to figure this thing out. I don't know. I was a Nick Sirianni fan. I loved what Nick Sirianni is about. Man just can't coach football anymore. 9 games ago, after they started, 12-1, whatever it was, all of a sudden it was like, in that movie, have you guys ever seen that throwback kid movie when Katie gets his powers taken by a kid? The movie's called Thunderstruck. I watched it when I was growing up. That movie, that's what something happened with Nick Sirianni, and it was like someone stole his powers to coach football, and he doesn't know what's going on. So they're 2-7 in the last 9. And the 49ers, guess what, guys? I'll give you one thing here. Anytime one of their big-time players are out, they lose. Last year when Deebo was out and Trent Williams had a little bit of a scuffle or whatever, and he got hurt for a couple of games, guess what? They lost 2 or 3 in a row. Right now, they just lost to the Minnesota Vikings because they had no CMC and Deebo goes down. Guess what's going to happen the next few weeks? The 49ers are going to end up dropping a couple at some point if those guys aren't healthy. So, right now, maybe outside of a couple of these one-off teams like the Seahawks and the Bucs and the Saints, like some one-off teams here, listen, the Lions own the NFC right now. I don't care if they're 1-1. There are a lot of 1-1 teams that I have high in my power rankings. There might be 0-2 teams that are in my power rankings. I go about my life about football, and I watch the film and I watch what I like on. I think there are good football teams out there. I'm not saying those are bad teams, but the Lions have one of the best rosters in all of football. All they have to do is fix one little mistake. People are like, if they fix, I think JT or someone commented on my thing earlier today. If they do, stop with the if. They're gonna fix it. It's the Detroit Lions. What are we doing here? Let's stop acting dumb here. All right.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, you're talking about one-offs and power rankings. I mean, if you look at least the wide receiver rankings and receiving yards and who's producing and who's not, the thing I wonder is the first two games, can this be sustained? I mean, look at this. Jameson Williams right now. I don't know if you guys. I mean, come on, you check out the receiving leaders right now in the NFL. Nico Collins is leading right now, 252 yards. Okay, and this is just a weird list because I would have never predicted that 2 games in, Davante Adams and Justin Jefferson are the only two on here that you typically see on this top 10 list. I mean, you have Nico Collins, Chris Godwin at 2, J-Mo, Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson, Alec Pierce is 6.
Shout out.
Rice, Davante Adams, Rashid Shaheed has 100. He has as many yards as Davante Adams, and then Deebo Samuel. Like this is through 2 games. J-Mo right now top 3, or tied for 2 in the NFL. 52 yards, 53 yards from being number 1. And I know it's early. I get that it's early. A lot of football left to play. But you look at how Davante Adams, like we know who he is, but Gardner Minshew, that offense is absolutely atrocious. And then you look at Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's going to ball. He's going to continue to ball out.
Sure.
But having Kirk Cousins there, I think, I mean, the guy, we say what you want about Kirk, but he knows how to get Justin Jefferson the football. I don't know. Like
Sam Darnold.
In Sam Darnold, yeah, but
KOC does more importantly.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like Tyreek Hill, no Tua Tagovailoa, which I know it stinks. I have him on my fantasy team. Said no with Tyreek Hill, but you look at some of the guys that are like typically up there. It is kind of a weird year so far, and J-Mo being tied for 2nd. I don't know if this is something like I know we talked about our expectations, like 700-800 yards, whatever it is. He's already what? 1/4 there. He's already basically 20% there, or 25% there, a quarter there, and it's 2 games. Like I don't know what to make of this. Should I be excited? I mean, I don't know, because I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna tell you guys something. Okay, first week he played really well. He was on my bench. The second week I kept him on my fantasy bench. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kept him on my fantasy bench because I wasn't sure.
I did
I'm
too.
starting him this week, boys. Like I'm starting the man this week. I don't know what to make of it.
Over who?
I think I have Jaden Reed, and I just with Malik Willis.
Come on now, he's projected 8.8 points. I got him on my team too.
Yeah,
but Booner, go ahead. Yeah,
I did a couple things real quick. One, this is only after 2 weeks, guys. So like, I'm not gonna get my what is this saying? Panties in a bunch. Over this, like I'm not gonna woo. I did see a stat, or I heard a stat that it's like through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, there's been like 50 less passing touchdowns or some insane stat since like years past in like the last like 5-6 years. So like historically everything is low right now. So like these stats, so you're going to see so like Alec Pierce at 6. That man probably has 400 more yards the rest of the season. Maybe not, but you see what I'm like. I'm not picking on your guy, Klotzy. I'm just saying. I'm pulling it out. Like this is going to even itself out. And I do think, and I would like to. And Jeff, you brought this up yesterday. I had a phone call earlier today with a couple people in regards to this as well, and it's starting to get a little bit more prevalent. Is the word? I'm starting to use bigger words. I really enjoy
relevant,
it. Relevant, whatever it is. I enjoy bigger words. But. Is it good? And Jeff, I thought about it a lot for the last 24 hours. Is it good for the Lions offense for J-Mo to be top 10 in the NFL wide receivers? Like, you guys, I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just like,
that's
the point is, it's like Sam Laporta's not getting involved. Other guys, Amon-Ra hasn't been like, J-Mo has a lot of targets, and like, Ben seems to be like this offense. They seem to be trying to force it to him because he's so good and trying to get him going. Where it's like, hey, maybe like I would rather have a top 5 offense and spread this ball out a little bit more than have J-Mo go be an all-pro wide receiver, a Pro Bowler, and be a top 15 offense. That's just me. Like, and I'm not throwing shit, guys. I mean, for the people are like, before the people in the chat start going, Booner doesn't like J. No, I love J-Mo. But
Booner,
the last 2 weeks, the offense has been very bad. And
I don't really.
You see what I'm saying?
I think that's not the winning formula. You'd rather see Amon-Ra in the top 5. You'd rather see David Montgomery leading the league in rushing or leading the league in rushing touchdowns. You want to see something that fits the formula of this offense that's been going back to their identity. We talked about it yesterday where it just looks like this offense is missing an identity. And I'm going to do the same thing that Booner is. Jameson Williams is not the identity of this offense, and that's okay. He's a very good player, but he should not be the focal point of this offense. If that's happening, the main pieces of this Detroit Lions offense are being shut down. I think through the first 2 games, at least with Sam Laporta. I know Amon-Ra came out last week and had 10 catches for 100-plus yards, but the middle of the field has just been taken away. So that's why they're feeding it to J-Mo so much, because they're going, okay, let's get the ball in the middle of the field, not there. Goff's trying to create a play after, not very mobile, so he's got to force the ball to J-Mo. And, I mean, that's a good option to have, but that's not the option that this Detroit Lions offense wants to be looking at consistently.
Yeah, I think kind of what you said, Lucas, going back to the identity, getting the run game more involved and leading those type of stats would be more Lions-esque. But Sam Laporta has been a little banged up, obviously. They came out and Dan talked about that a little bit today, so he hasn't gotten fully worked into the offense. And then I honestly, last game, I don't think J-Mo was getting force-fed at all. I think it was more St. Brown and kind of trying to mend what happened in week 1 and trying to force it in too many situations to St. Brown. I think J-Mo was totally fine last week, and I think either way, if you would have ended up 2-0, it really wouldn't have mattered. Like, we wouldn't even be talking about this. I think this is only a conversation because we're 1-1 about getting more people involved, to be honest.
But guys,
I think week by week, it's going to be like this with the wide receivers. As far as J-Mo and St. Brown and eventually Laporta goes, it's going to be people week by week. It might not be getting St. Brown involved every single week or forcing St. Brown. I think you're still going to have to continue to work the ball around like that. I think, like I said, last game they were forcing St. Brown way too much.
But you got to think, guys, J-Mo the last 2 weeks, again, this isn't me going at J-Mo. He's had 20 targets the last 2 weeks. He had 11 this last game. And he had 5 catches. One of the catches, 50 yards. And then the rest is 24 yards off 4. And this isn't me being like, it's just like this offense has to get more fluid. Like, you can't, and maybe it is, they're forcing to Amon-Ra. He threw 55 times. Like, that should never happen. Dan said it on 97.1 today. Should never happen throwing 55 times. But J-Mo getting 11 targets when you like, hey, let's get this run game going. I think Amon-Ra had like 14 or even more, like 15 plus targets. Like, hey, maybe take that down to 10. And get J-Mo down to 7 and get this offense more fluid. Like, get the run game going. Get like, how many targets does Sam Laporta have? We're talking about like J-Mo didn't get that many targets. He had 11 targets. Sam Laporta, we're saying he had 3 targets. Like, that's ridiculous, man.
And
like,
half of them were like 5
yards. 5
yards.
times and Sam Laporta has 3 targets. That is ridiculous. That should never happen. Your offense, if you want to get this full offense rolling at a high level, a top 5 offense, you're not going to be able to throw it to J-Mo. And again, Coach Walk said it's not J-Mo's fault at all. This is Ben Johnson. And this is Jared Goff, like, figuring this thing out. But you can't just, like, we got to get this offense rolling, man.
Yeah. I mean, I think Laporta's targets, like I said, will increase week by week. I think the bigger problem was running the ball like 9 times going into halftime that game. Obviously, we already kind of brought up the point, throwing 50 times is not the Lions' identity, but running the ball only 9 times going into halftime with the best offensive line in the league and the best running back duo in the league, and what this team has built themselves around is running the ball and then kind of opening up the pass game after that. That's disgraceful. There's no way the Lions should run the ball 9 times or whatever the hell it was going into halftime.
Yeah, I mean, and I have an answer because I brought this up yesterday when we had this conversation that we talked about how the offense looks a little more vertical, and but again, they're in the red zone 7 times, so that was more just like hey, let's have a conversation, talk about it. I think in all seriousness, like my answer to that, Booner, and I don't hate your point. Like I get what you're saying, and I have an explanation. I think it's what Mike said. I think J-Mo's getting the targets he should be getting, but he's also taking on Sam Laporta's targets. So he's getting the targets he should be getting and Sam Laporta's targets that he typically would get. Like Sam Laporta should be getting what? 4 to 6 more targets. I think those are shooting right to J-Mo, given that Sam Laporta has not looked healthy, and that's what Dan talked about. Something is off with Sam Laporta. I don't know, and maybe that's because he's been out with training camp. He's been dealing with that hamstring that he came back from late. So he's kind of getting worked. He's getting his conditioning right. I don't know, getting used to being back on the field. There could be a lot of reasons. I think when we revisit this in about 6 weeks, it'll be more balanced. We'll see more of that balance, more of that fluidity you're talking about. I just think it's that simple. Jamo's he's asked to do a lot more given Sam Laporta's slow start. Now, is it the right move to make this offense a little more vertical? I don't know. And I think the run game should be the focus, which I'm sure next week they'll correct. Like the run game, set up play action, and get this offense just kind of more fluid, as the term you use, which I actually like that term, more fluid. It make it look like last year. I know it takes time, and Dan Campbell actually talked about it, guys, and I want to show you guys this quote he had. And I'll ask you the question as well about the offense, getting back on track. He said, this is here. I'll put this on screen for you guys. Will Birchfield, shout out to him, 97.1, covers the Lions. He says Dan Campbell on offense, a slow start. I'm not shocked. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be shocked if we're not cooking by the time we get to the bye. Sometimes it takes a minute. Great offenses we've had. It's not always perfect early, so I'm not rattled or shaken by this at all. So Dan Campbell basically saying, hey, we might not get this thing right by the bye week, and that's okay. It takes a minute. And,
some bumps on the path, Boone.
I mean, there's just negative. I'm trying. What's something that goes with a J? Like not joyful. What's the opposite of joyful that starts with a J?
Boone, that's a very specific request.
I don't know.
Right on the
I
spot.
don't like the tone out of Jeff's. He's supposed to be a janitor or a help me on the Booner path. The negativity and I don't like that. Listen, this team's going to struggle. Football teams struggle. Unless you're in college football and you're Georgia or Alabama, you're going to struggle. Like, come on, man. Like, I said it last night, with the show last night. If you lose versus the Cardinals, you're 1-2, figure it out and move on. Like, this is the beginning of the season. I don't care about the first 8 games. This is where you try and get the things, like get your momentum rolling a little bit, fix all the small things, all those bumps that you're talking about, Klotzy, those potholes. Guess what? We live in Michigan. We fill those in and we learn and we get better.
Yeah, one took me out last weekend.
And that's all. Yeah, well, for you, that's tough. And you know what? What did you do? You have a new tire, right? A little adversity, and you're good to go.
New rim. Tire was fine.
New rim. Exactly. So you're good to go. That's all it is, man. Like, again, if they lose Sunday, which knock on wood, they're not going to. But if they do, and like if it takes until the bye week, that's 4 games. Like 4 games in the season, especially at the beginning, doesn't matter. Like obviously for seeding it does. But you want to be playing your best football come end of December, January, and February. That's when it matters, man. So, like, the people that were overreacting over the last 3 days, jog on, go somewhere else, go to a different bandwagon, and we'll talk to you later. Because come January, this football team's going to be buzzing. They're going to figure out all of these nicks and crannies and these errors that they've had. The offense is going to be a top 5 in the NFL. Defense will be top 10, and they'll be right back in Super Bowl favorites. It's one of the best teams in football. Like, look at the Chiefs. Look at the Ravens. Like, teams are going to figure it out. It's not that big of a deal.
Bro said jog on. That's a good. I like that line, bro.
I got that from my Australian friends. They said it's
jog on.
Jog on, mate.
Jog on. Guys, the quote by Dan Campbell, like, again, I'm not coming. He makes sense. Like, new offense now with Jamo being like a legitimate wide receiver too, and now you're asking him to do a lot more. And he's such a special player. Like, he's not Josh Reynolds. I mean, Josh Reynolds is reliable. He's just he does his job. Jamo is like this Ferrari, like this Lamborghini you just dropped in Dan Campbell's garage, and he's like, what the? Like, this thing is sweet. And Ben Johnson, they're all looking at it like, how do we? How fast does it go? I mean, how can we push the limits out? I mean, let's see if we could let's see what we can get out of Jamo. It's going to take some time. So I completely understand the quote. I guess my thing, and I know what Booner said, and maybe this is where we see it a little differently.
Of course.
And what helped me, Boone, what's helped me is the fact that teams around the NFC they lost, and it looks a little better. Because again, when we're talking about making the playoffs, of course, like, they can still make the playoffs. It's still a very good football team. But we talked about that number 1 seed, and teams losing keeps me still in it. And the 49ers losing to the Vikings, that was huge. The injuries they have, the Eagles losing, not looking right, that's great. So around the NFL and the NFC, it's helped me feel better about it. But thinking about like, oh, if they lose on Sunday, like it's all good. Everything's sunflowers and roses. Like
obviously it's not sunflowers and roses, but it's not, hey, the season's over. It's, hey, there's things we have to fix. Let's go evaluate and figure out and get better. But it's not, hey, season's over, team's bad, we need to really figure this thing. No, it's, hey, let's evaluate and figure out what's going on. This is going to take time. Like Dan Campbell's had tough starts. Last year they started 1-1, and then they went on a couple game win streak, and then they dropped a couple. Like you're gonna drop. Jeff, it's the NFL. You got to trust me. Do you remember last year during the trade deadline when everyone threw in the white towel and the white flag?
It's not a white
and
towel.
Said, listen. When everyone threw in the white flag and the white towel and the Booner path was made during the trade deadline last year when everyone said Lions are done, and I stood up there in front of all the people and said, listen, everyone shut up. This is a good football team. This is a good organization, and Dan Campbell's at the helm. Why don't you all sit down and watch this team go out there and work? And that's what they'll do. If they lose this week, I trust Dan Campbell to make sure when December comes around, they will be a problem.
Yeah, but Boone, here's the difference. And guys, please, this is why when you said that, and you were absolutely right, they were playing good football. Like the offense was top 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like they were playing good football. I guess what worries me is like, it's Dan is confident they'll get it worked out. Great. Like if they struggle against the Cardinals and lose, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh yeah, they're going to figure this thing out. Like that's not my mindset. And I give you credit because of your like positive, like, hey, they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, there's negatives. We can talk negative, but it's not dead.
No,
dead, but I'm like,
I think we all know the offense needs to work its kinks out, but good teams find a way to win no matter what, and they should have won that game. So obviously you kind of correct those mistakes that you made down the stretch of that game, and then you go out and win against a team like Arizona, just like a team like Tampa Bay that you are all around better than, and you should have won. And the thing, the JMO thing, it's still rubbing me the wrong way. The way people always wanted to get him involved, and now you're seeing him catch these passes and, you know, running the routes and getting more involved in the ways that we wanted to see him involved. And now, like, people are butthurt because their favorite player isn't leading the Lions in receiving yards or Lions in rushing yards. So, like, I don't get that. As long as they're winning, it doesn't fucking matter. And
they're not winning. They lost.
Was a big part of our offense doing anything the first two games.
But they're 1-1.
I wasn't saying you, J-Mo.
Boys. The thing that's going to just make this all okay, and that was not here last year, is this Detroit Lions defense is going to be fucking damn good. They're going to be very good all year long. So that's why I'm with Booner as far as they go in there 1-2, which is not going to happen. Again, like I don't think any of us are predicting a loss. This Aaron Glenn defense is much improved. And you saw that this week. And I understand that the offense is what needs to be there. But that offense last year, for them to even make a playoff spot, had to be top 5. If they were top 10, they probably would have been on the verge of a wild card. If you have this defense playing the way it did the first 2 weeks, limiting the big plays down the field, this offense, like we all know, it's just a matter of time. Like this is a top 5 offense on paper. And I think at the bare minimum, by the end of the season, they'll be a top 7 offense. Let's just say that that's what they are.
For sure.
And if they have a top 10 defense, which I think after these first 2 weeks, you're going to see them going from playing Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, a very loaded Tampa Bay Buccaneers team with Baker Mayfield who's playing good football right now. And then they're going against Kyler Murray. James Conner's not going to be able to run the ball, and a rookie wide receiver, Marvin Harrison and Jonathan Gannon. So this defense, and then you go look at how the Dallas Cowboys just look. The Tennessee Titans are coming up. Aaron Glenn, I think, is going to have a way where, and I don't know if it's like as a whole, because I think as you take both their careers as I don't know what I'm trying to find in totality, but I think there could be a real conversation that in 2024, Aaron Glenn could be the better coordinator for this team than Ben Johnson if things keep up the way that they are. I don't think they will. I think the offense is going to find itself, but I also think that this defense is also going to stay in a rhythm and find their spot as well. Like DJ Reader coming back fully healthy, Terrion Arnold kind of falling into the way he wants to play football, Ife Melifonwu coming back. I think Aaron Glenn, I don't think he's got enough credit already after these first 2 performances. Like he's been very, very solid at the bare minimum, and I think it's going to continue to get better. So this defense is going to kind of hold this team together until they figure it out offensively.
Yeah, the defense will step up. I mean, the defense is going to be the defense. We know what they are, and they're going to get better and better by the weeks while the weeks come. And Gentry, I know what you were saying. Like, and there are people in the chat who just want their other guys to do well. I think in my mindset, the more so where I'm coming from with this, and Jeff, I feel like you were on the same page yesterday. It's just more so. I want Jamo to be great. Like, I want him to get used within this offense, but you have to find the way to do it while still getting the carries to Jameer and Tima, and finding the opportunities for Sam Laporta and now Tim Patrick. Like, it can't just be an Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams show like it was 19 targets and 11 targets. You had 30 targets between the two of them. Like, you're not going to win football games offensively like that. Like, defenses are going to be able to shut that down. And that was what happened with the Bucs. Todd Bowles knew what their game plan was. They shut the run down a little bit, and then they said, all right, let's shut down Jamo and Amon-Ra somehow, or let's do what the Lions did week 1 with the Rams and hold them to short yardage, and they stopped them in the red zone. It's bend, don't break. And you're like, you have to find a way to spread this thing around, or this offense is going to be stagnant all year. And that's where, for me, I don't care who gets the ball at all. But for me, it's like, for this offense to be what it is, you have to use all these weapons. Like, you have to. I said it yesterday, that's what's going to make defenses have to worry about every single one of these weapons on the other side of the ball, right? Like, if they realize that they're just going for Jamo and Amon-Ra every game, they're going to like Sam Laporta, and they're going to figure out a way that they don't even have to worry about Sam Laporta as much anymore, because Goff and Ben Johnson aren't even scheming up plays for him. And this is not a bad thing, I'm saying. Like, Coach Walk is like, OMG, Booner. Coach Walk, calm down. Get the panties out of a bunch. I love you, Coach Walk.
Take a jog it off.
Yeah, jog it off a little. This is not a bad thing I'm saying. This should be a positive thing, saying like, hey, let's get this offense going a little bit. Like, spread the ball around. Get back to where we were last year with Josh Reynolds, the way that was, where everything was spread around. No one knew who was getting the rock ever. Even if you thought it was going to Amon-Ra, oh, guess what? Josh Reynolds over the top. You can't stop this offense. You cannot, dude. And if you have so many weapons.
My thing is, honestly, boys, and Mike, I know, and this is what I talked about the last yesterday. I look at Ben Johnson. That's who I'm looking at. Like, there's no reason why Jared. I don't really look as much at Jamo, even though like I brought up yesterday, like forcing the ball down the field, or at least 55 times, whatever it was, 50 plus times, we'll just say, from Goff, should never happen. That should never happen unless you're in a blowout. Like, unless the Lions are down like 30-7, and it's like, all right, it's like the Ravens game. If it's something like that, then it's like, all right, Goff, just keep throwing the ball. We'll see what happens. I think it's on Ben. Like, there's no reason why Goff should put the ball in the air that many times. Like, I get the Jamo thing, and no one's blaming Jamo. Like, Jamo got 11 targets. Great. Like, catch all of them. Make plays. But I'm looking at Ben. Like, there's no reason why these guys should be getting fed 30 plus times in a game where it's a 4-point game. So that's why I look at Ben to kind of figure that stuff out, because this week against the Cardinals, I do think it's going to be a close game. They have to get back to their identity. I think the Lions I know this has kind of been an every week thing, but this week specifically, because the Bucs are better and their front seven's better, they should be able to run all over the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. That should be the game plan this week. Like, let's get back to our identity. We'll get Goff under 30 pass attempts. Let's get this man 17 for 26, 225 yards. Get Jamo 5 catches. Get Amon-Ra 8-9 catches. Get Sam Laporta 4 catches. Make sure that Jameer and David get double-digit carries, and let's get out of there with a 7-point win, 10-point win, 14-point win, whatever. That should be like the expectation this week. So,
last fact, can I say one? Like, I just want to let the people to know this. Like, and I know I'm going off on a team. Listen, like, I can't get how people can't wrap their head. We're breaking down, like, this offense was bad last week. Like, yeah, they moved the ball. Like, they couldn't score in the red zone. Like, there's problems with this offense. Just because we're talking about it, like, people are like, calm down, Booner. It's week 2. It happened. So we're going to have a conversation about it. Like, this is what it is at the end of the day. Like there has to be fixes on this offense. I would love for every single person in there and say Booner's wrong. Sit down and tell me how this offense was perfect on Sunday. If you can do that, then you can tell me to sit down that I'm wrong. Because all I'm saying is this offense has to get fixed, and they have to get more involved, and they have to get back to what they were doing last year. And if you don't think that's right, then you have no clue what you're talking about at the end of the day. Like, none. Because I'm not saying anything bad or negative. I'm just saying this has to get figured out. You have to find a way to spread the ball back. Ben Johnson has to step up and make better play calls, and he has to get this offense back on track. Maybe take a couple instead of 11 targets, give Jamo 7 or 8 and give Sam Laporta a couple more, so defenses have to worry about him. Even if he's a decoy and he's hurt, get the ball to him a little bit so defenses have to account for him. Like, this isn't like, we're not talking rocket science here. Like, quit being hard-headed and
ball,
dumb.
baby.
Like, this is real football here. Come on now.
This is no.
Play with them.
It's very simple. I'm not even going to go the targets route. I'm just going to.
I would love all those people who said Booner's wrong. Comment in there that the Lions' offense was 100% perfect. I would love to see that. That's what they're saying when they say I'm wrong.
No, it's
crazy, man.
I know. I think that this is what
I'll start pausing people.
This is very simple. Not even going to bring up targets. Goff under 30 pass attempts. Is that fair for guys?
Perfectly fine.
Fair?
I'd say 25 to 35.
And whoever's open more, get him the ball. I don't care if J-Mo gets 11 catches this game, but he's under 30 attempts. J-Mo was open. I don't know. I don't really give a shit. But as long as it's in the construct of what they are. Run the ball, play action. Like, I don't give a damn who's open. Just run the ball. Run the ball. And by the way, we're getting the run the ball shirts. We're getting them on the store very soon.
Great idea.
Run the ball. Yeah, Mike. Usually Mike's the one. Hey, Mike, you'd be proud of me. Run the ball. That's what we're getting. Hey, you like that, Mike?
Let him cook.
I like that. But yeah, under 30 pass attempts would be roughly the goal. I think Jared Goff, guys, good opportunity for him to bounce back. And he plays very well against Arizona. I think someone put this in the chat, and I don't remember who it was, but I do know it's true. Goff's undefeated against Kyler Murray. I don't know, fun fact. This week, and I don't mean to put that in the air for the bad karma or the bad juju or whatever, but this is an opportunity against this secondary, boys. We're running it back. We talked about it last week. We're running it back. This secondary, and this time I'm serious. This secondary, Goff will have every opportunity to have a bounce back game. I know he struggled the first two games. The offense has struggled. It's more about getting it, start clicking in all cylinders, establish the run game. Not only that, but stick with it and establish play action. I think this week, guys, Goff will be fine. I want to get a check-in on some of those MVP votes. I mean, where are we at with the Goff for MVP vote? I'll just get a check-in.
Yeah, I mean, let's we don't need to have that conversation. I'm worried right now. Listen, Jeff, this is where me and you differ a little bit, and we're a little different. Guess what I'm worried about? I'm worried about the team. This offense. We need to figure out this offense first, then we can talk MVP, all right?
It's fair.
Thank you.
But I do actually want to bring up another one.
That was a work of art, Booner.
Thank you very much. I'm learning. I'm getting better at spin zones.
Because once the offense starts clicking, that'll make Jared look good. But I agree with you, Hefe. I think this has to be a get right game. Like you see all these big teams. Like even if you look at teams that lost week one and they bounce back, like for example the Atlanta Falcons, they lost week one, kind of an embarrassing loss. How they went down and they bounced back on primetime against the Eagles. That's what the Lions need to do. They're going up against an inferior opponent on the road, so they obviously know going into that game you can't sleepwalk against them. And you just watch them beat the team you beat by 6 points. By damn near 30 points. They just absolutely killed the Rams. I know the Rams are injury depleted, but this is a team that I don't think Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions, are going to go sleeping on. And everybody hears the noise around the Lions right now. Like I think a lot of people are starting to think, oh, the Lions were good, but they're taking a step back. That's not going to happen. Arizona Cardinals will be a classic get-right game. I think this offense is going to have a day. I think this is exactly the exact opponent that this offense needs going right now.
He better. Mike, you wanted to bring something up? What were you?
I kind of talked about it before the season too, along with J-Mo, like getting involved in more effective ways. The Jahmyr Gibbs screen pass experiment needs to be figured out because we just talked about J-Mo getting 11 targets. Jahmyr Gibbs had 7 targets. They were all behind the line of scrimmage with a long of 7 yards. And obviously we know what happened in the red zone, given how the game ended, back-to-back plays to him. It just doesn't make sense. They've kind of worked it out with J-Mo and, catered to his strengths in the receiving game. They need to figure it out with Jahmyr Gibbs because half the time he's either getting nowhere because no one's blocking or Jared Goff's throwing it at his feet. So I don't know what's going on with that, but that was probably one of the most brutal watches as far as Jahmyr Gibbs in a receiving game you'll probably ever see. And I don't think one bit of it was his fault. I think it was more of Ben Johnson and then Jared Goff throwing ducks in the ground. But
yeah, there was a screen blast. Did you guys see the one where he went to go throw it and people thought he just spiked it at the ground and it just slipped out of his hands and fell out? Like he went to go throw it and it like the back angle. I watched the all 22 and you could see the back angle or the front angle, whatever one it is, and it just falls out and it's incomplete pass. And Jahmyr was like, dude, that was a touchdown. Like, what are we doing? And even the other screenplay, the one on the other side when they were at like the 13 or whatever it was, or the 18, they literally I think it was Ragnow and one of the, I think it was Graham and Ragnow were pulling out there in front of him, and they both blocked the same guy. And if one of them would have just went and got the linebacker, it would have been it would have been a touchdown. Right. And they just both went at the same guy. Like that was what Dan said on 97.1 today, where he was like, literally, guys. And typically when you have a bad offense, like you can know, like this is what we don't have a run game, like we don't have a pass game, we don't have a quarterback. Dan was like, out of the 6 red zone possessions we didn't score, he was like, we missed a block there. Jared had a misread. Something else happened. Someone slipped or this and that. He had 6 different things that it was. And he was like, it literally was just all like freak situations. And he was like, it's just situations where we can fix it overnight. And there's no way that happens again. So like, that's why I'm like, this offense is, especially in the red zone, it was like these small things where they just need to kind of bring the details together. And I would think versus Arizona, they're able to do it. Like I think of Dan Campbell coming off a loss. Again, they haven't had back-to-back losses since 2022 in week 8. That was the last time. So it's been a long time. So I do think Dan gets them. This is a perfect kind of get-right game for them. It is a tough football team, so it's like not a team to take lightly. But, hey, to get back on track and show the NFL, go on the road to an Arizona team who just beat the Rams single-handedly, pretty good. Like, to go out there and kind of get that job done, and I think they'll do it. I think it's perfect for them.
Yeah, I don't think it was little things like slipping and a guy not blocking. It was all terrible play calling. It was all on Ben Johnson. Yeah. Every single one of those red zone opportunities, it wasn't someone slipping or something. It was just stupid play calling. That's all it was. Yeah, it might be little things that you could work out. I mean, maybe running the ball in the red zone. But other than that, it was stupid play calling.
So
Dan can cover for his guys, but it was stupid play calling.
I looked up, and again, whether you hate it or not, I dove into some Jared Goff PFF numbers or statistics. Yeah. And here's I don't live by it, but I did see this one measurement, and it's called ADJ percentage. It's basically a metric that measures a quarterback's accuracy by also like taking into account drops and like it tries to balance that out, like things that they can't control essentially. So it's like accuracy, taking out all like the BS. And Jared Goff, his ADJ percentage is the lowest of his career to start this year. So like again, just like it's just the timing, the offense clicking. Like that's obviously a problem. Like even in LA, he's had years under the same offense, even though they traded him away, whatever. But with the Lions, he's been in the same offense, which is odd because they have the same coordinator, same offense, same scheme. But accuracy, it's kind of been an issue. I don't know, or at least just the rapport, I guess, because it started off, I mean, even with Amon-Ra having the slow game, but then he bounced back, and then you have J-Mo playing really well, which is great. But then, like, Sam Laporte has been off. Like, it's been kind of odd. So it is weird. Like, this year for Jared, it's been very bad. But, again, he's a guy that he's got to have a top 5 season again. Like, that, you just need it. So I don't know what he has right now statistically.
He's up there still. I mean, like passing yards, he's up. He just had he's making bad mistakes. Can I pull up this tweet real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Another Will Birchfield tweet, and shout out. He does a great job, by the way. Like, if you don't follow him on Twitter, go follow him because he's always putting some good stuff out. Dan Campbell on Jared Goff today. He said, I told Jared this like yesterday. One of the notes I wrote, I'm like, man, I just feel like a couple times you're trying to do too much is all. He's trying to keep the play alive a little bit longer than need be. Just a couple things there that didn't help us. That's exactly like Dan Campbell's spot on with that. Like that is exactly, guys, what is happening with Jared Goff. Like we know Jared Goff can play football. That's why I hated so much after this game. There were these people taking, and it happens like after every game or two, Jared Goff plays bad. There are these people who love to do victory laps. And then they'll be like, well, I'm not doing a victory lap. And they're just doing victory. It's like like a guy running like it's like running a mile and be like, I'm not running a mile, and you're just running a mile. Like you're doing it, dude. Like, we see it. Like I'm watching you. But it's like we know what Jared Goff is. Like he's gonna have a couple bad games. He always gets back though. Like he always turns back into Jared Goff and he fixes his mistakes and he figures it out. That's a part of the game. And that's like, dude, Jared's gonna figure this thing out. And like they're gonna lock in. And he's going to, reel it in. Those missed passes a couple times that he's made that we saw, that's not going to happen again. and he's going to start making better reads, and he's going to start getting this thing down. The people who go at Jared Goff after a game or two that's bad. How many times in your life do you have a bad couple weeks? Because I tell you what, I do all the time, and you guys let me know it. The chat lets me know it. So, Jared Goff's going to have it. And you can let him know it, but these victory lap things, let the guy – he's going to be fine, dude. He's going to be just fine.
I agree.
The Goff haters just crazy to me, guys. It is – oh, my gosh. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. People taking Jared Goff victory laps. It's nuts. It is so crazy to me.
This is why I'm more confident that he'll figure it out, because you take – and it's not just Jared. It's around the NFL. I mean, just take a quick peek at this. I mean, this is right now your top 5
let
them cook. I mean, are you shitting me right now? I mean, this is
3 of them is in the same division.
Passing touchdown leaders. Derek Carr's first, 5-1. Baker's tied for first, 5-1. Sam Darnold's tied for third, 4-2 touchdown interception ratio. Kyler Murray's 4-0 touchdown interception ratio. Aaron Rodgers 3-1, and then Kirk Cousins 3-2. So really, you guys think it's gonna end like this?
One top 5 quarterback on that list.
Can you click that yardage? Can you click that yardage one? See who's in the top 5 yardage.
Yeah, so top 5 in yards. Brock Purdy's 1, Stafford's 2, Minshew's 3, tied for 2 with Stafford, and then Jared Goff is right behind them. But again,
I didn't like that Raiders abysmal offense comment you had to say earlier, Jeff. They were getting loose out there against those Ravens.
The Ravens.
They look nice. They look nice.
Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers. Okay, well, I don't care. But Jared Goff, the thing is with the yards, he didn't pass 50 plus times last year, and he was top 5. What was he in yards, passing yards?
He might have been top 3.
I think it was 2 or 3.
So that's the thing. He shouldn't have to pass 55 times to get that. You know, he's up there in passing yards, but that was he shouldn't have been throwing the ball as much as he did. So
yeah,
he'll figure it out. I'm not really worried about it. Now, I guess I'll ask you guys this question for this week. The Cardinals game, which I cannot wait for. I'm always we're out of the next week. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a good time. By the way, watch our Sunday programming: pregame, watch party, postgame.
Can't wait. Real American beer, baby.
But give me some things you guys are looking to see this weekend. Maybe some things you want the Lions offense to improve on, or just in general. It doesn't have to be player related. It could be coaching. Anything you want to see this weekend. I guess for me, guys, very simple. I want to see Ben Johnson, this offense, get back to their identity. That's number one. And then spacebar, like Sam Flannel says, spacebar. And then you can get to other things, like Sam Laporta bouncing back. But really, it starts with Ben Johnson getting this offense back to what their identity is. Running the football, being a run-first, heavy run team that, again, when you establish it, then Jared Goff can operate and be just an absolute he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks, I think, in the league, especially when he's protected and when you establish the run, he can run the plays. He can operate out of play action. That's what you want this week, man. Dave Montgomery, get that man double-digit touches. Get Jahmyr Gibbs, double-digit touches. And then you let Jared operate, and then however it unfolds is however it unfolds. But it's got to be a run-first team this week. Getting back to their identity, to me, is number one. And I'll just say that first, and I'll let you guys kind of share what you think. But that's by far number one to me, fellas. By far.
Yeah, I love that, Jeff. I think the number one. I'm with you, and I think all across the board for all of us, the number one should be run game, get back on track, and find your identity again. So I love that, Jeff. Another thing I'm going to say is in the pass game with Jared Goff, I want to see a balanced pass game. I want to see him go out there, and it's going to be the term that I use all week is balance. And I know some weeks some guys are going to have better weeks and vice versa, all of that. I just think this week it's all right. Let's get guys involved and let's get this offense back to rolling again. A balanced offense, a balanced pass game to where you can get D-Mont and Jahmyr just run it through the tackles, man. You get this offense that comes with the offensive line stepping up a little bit more as well and get back to their old habits. So all of that, I think, offensively is probably without a doubt the biggest thing this week. I want to see Laporta get involved. Tim Patrick's probably going to be on the active roster, would be my guess. Let's see a couple to him. Let's see this offense open up a little bit. And instead of being 1 for 7 in the red zone, guess what? I'm going to give something out here. Ready?
Ready, boom.
Why don't we be 3 for 4 in the red zone? And you guys are like, why not 7? 3 for 4 is about average, in my opinion, for the Lions last season. Go 3 for 4. That's perfect. And a couple big plays. Like, let's see some long touchdowns. The Lions were one of the best teams the last 2 seasons in touchdowns, I believe, over 20 yards. So like, I want to see that out of the Detroit Lions again. And once this offense, guys, I can't stress this enough. When the Detroit Lions offense starts clicking again, and say it happens this Sunday, this is the best team in football. Now, opposite side of the football, the other thing I want to see on defensively on Sunday versus the Rams versus the Cardinals, I want to see them contain Kyler Murray. I think that's going to be the number one thing is we know what Kyler Murray can do. And last week he was like one of like 2 quarterbacks in NFL history to throw for a certain amount of yards, touchdowns, and have a perfect QBR. So like it was some insane thing. Stop him from that. Like take that out of his – make Kyler Murray live in hell, as the people say. Like, we do not want Kyler Murray to have one of those games against us. So I that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see this defense take Kyler Murray out of the game completely. That's been a big thing on Aaron Glenn's defense, is constantly on mobile quarterbacks kind of taking that up. So that's probably my biggest thing on defense.
Yeah, but I think at the end of it, that's exactly what I was going to say. Kyler Murray, he's been on a tear lately. I'm not even going to deny it. Like, he looks great against Buffalo, looked amazing against the Rams. But there's always those spurts with Kyler Murray where he looks so damn good, and then he returns to earth and you're reminded who Kyler Murray is. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is a great wide receiver. I think he's going to be the closest thing to Kelvin Johnson that we've seen since Kelvin Johnson, or maybe even like a Julio Jones type of player. But as a rookie, Aaron Glenn with this defense and Aiden Hutchinson coming off 4.5 sacks against a much better offensive line that you're going to be facing in Tampa, that you face in Tampa Bay, that you got coming into Arizona. There's no reason that this defense shouldn't dominate and put Kyler Murray under pressure. Remember the stats I was naming off about Baker Mayfield while under pressure? Kyler Murray was right on par with Baker Mayfield as far as how far that QBR is when he's under pressure trying to create plays. He can make great plays occasionally, but if you just stay disciplined defensively, which I think this Aaron Glenn defense is much better at this year so far compared to last season, this is not going to be a game where the Detroit Lions offense has to go off. Now, we all hope it does. But if you just contain Kyler Murray, you make him uncomfortable, because Kyler's not a guy that's going to be able to take a big beating throughout the game. Like, he's not the most durable quarterback. You hit him 2 or 3 times, he's just rattled. He can kill you with your feet. That's fine as long as you're stopping James Conner. But you stop Kyler Murray, stop him from getting outside the pocket and throwing to Marvin Harrison Jr. wide open down the field. And that's all this offense really has, because Trey McBride's kind of been in the same situation Sam Laporta has, where he really hasn't gotten going. And I don't anticipate it's going to be this week when you got Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, etc. in the middle of the field for this Detroit Lions defense. I just think if they, to your point, Booner, you stop Kyler Murray, you stop the Arizona Cardinals. And I think that the Detroit Lions have the recipe to do that this week.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing is, I guess, Kyler Murray's mobility and how that consistently gives the Lions problems. It's going to give them problems. Now, what I want to see this week, contain.
Love it.
Contain. That's what they have to do against Kyler Murray, which is going to be hard. I mean, it's easy to say it, harder to execute. But I think this week I want to see, at least out of the rookie corner, Taron Arnold, just again, it's not that it's a concern, but just more discipline. He's just getting used to the NFL, the physicality. You can't touch receivers, unfortunately. Like, it stinks. I don't know. Yeah, but you could be a little more physical with them at the line of scrimmage. But after that, I mean,
that PI was just.
Yeah,
I went back and watched it today. It was so bad.
It's bad. I mean, he barely laid a finger on him. So that's how it is, though. I mean, adjusting from college to the NFL, he can do that at Alabama. Can't do that in the league. So I'm looking at Taron Arnold this week. He's not going to be guarding Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, it's going to be Carlton Davis's job, which he's going to be asked to do some work here with Marvin Harrison Jr., who was incredible. And that last week is what he is and what he will be. So I guess the secondary, I'm looking for more of just that, looking for more of the chemistry being built, those guys continuing to improve. Like, I know Aiden Hutchinson, dude. I think honestly, Aiden's facing a backup tackle again. So
hey,
Jonah Williams.
Let's not count that against him. Let the man go out there and do what he does.
No. I'm just stating he's gonna have a big game. Like, I mean, he's gonna have a huge game this week. So the defensive line, I think, will be fine. It's the secondary now with Kyler. I mean, Kyler hasn't turned the ball over. I think he gets his first turnover this week. So secondary makes some plays, and I think they will do that. But
need Lee McNeil to step up this week.
Yeah, that's another
guy
one.
got Kyler Murray staying in the pocket. I think he has the arm to pick you apart, but if you get interior pressure on him, that's when Hutch is going to be right there.
Levi O.
Tackle, bowling him. Levi O, step up. DJ
Levi
Reader,
O's
be
been
yourself.
really good. Hey, I want to ask you guys that, and Davenport may be back too. I do want to ask you guys, this is really Klotzy. This is a you question, more so the kind of football side of things when it comes to the X's and O's. One thing that Aaron Glenn, and I remember we talked about this a lot last season, is AG isn't a guy that has like a QB spy. And that's, he's gotten criticized a lot for that because of how so many mobile quarterbacks have cut the Lions up. Is that something that like this year, now you have some talent on your defense where it's like, hey, maybe that's something to kind of look into? I'm not more so, I'm not 100% with if that would change everything up. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to leave this with you, Klotzy. I would like to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, let's go to 3-cam here, fellas. This is driving me nuts. All right. Well, I think the thing is why they couldn't do QB spy in the past is because they didn't have the pass rush to get there. Like when you have a guy, like say, if you're going to do a QB spy, it's probably going to be Alex Anzalone or Brian Branch, whoever you want to do, whatever formation. You couldn't afford to not have Alex Anzalone in coverage or blitzing the quarterback last year. Because if not, then it's just one of your weakest links is going to be exposed even more schematically. Brian Branch, kind of the same thing. You can't afford to not have him in the pass coverage game or getting after the quarterback, et cetera, covering somebody. He's got to do his role. Now that you have Aiden Hutchinson, you saw what he did last week where he was just getting to the quarterback at will. You see that Marcus Davenport, even in his first game, he was having a lot of success. Levi Onwuzurike. So I think now we'll have to see what Anzalone's health is looking like. But I think that Aaron Glenn, he's definitely now in a position where he can do it more. But some defensive coordinators, they just don't like doing that because it's kind of just taking a player out of what you're trying to do defensively to focus on the quarterback. Like if he doesn't run, he can pick up checkdowns and anything like that, but it also kind of leaves you vulnerable if he's able to just sit in the pocket and pick you apart. So it'll have to be schematically, but I think he definitely has more freedom to do that now.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know what's going to happen too. I don't know what's going to happen with Anzo. I did see in the chat, like Anzo is in concussion protocol, so that'll be interesting to see. We haven't seen like a report or anything on Anzo. And Dan's talked he's talked twice, I think, and I don't think we've gotten an update on Anzo, at least that I know.
Mm-hmm. That's probably not good, to be honest.
No, yeah. And the concussion stuff, I mean, he's probably someone that, I mean, it happened in the game, so I don't know. I don't. I'm hoping he's back. I know last week they had like Rodrigo out there playing some snaps. Jack Campbell's going to be asked if he's out to have a big game because this is like now this will be an opportunity if Anzalone is out to see like Jack Campbell's growth as a he'll be the
green dot.
Yeah, I mean you'll
get too
against Kyler freaking Murray. I mean, who like say what you want about him. I'm not a huge Kyler guy, but he's playing well. He's hard to tackle. So it'll be a good test for this defense, man. I mean, it just is. They haven't faced a mobile quarterback yet. I mean, Baker put Rodrigo in the dirt, but he's not.
Yeah, that was just disappointing. I'm not even mad at Rodrigo. Like, it's just like literally right after that, they put that highlight up next to a Barry Sanders juke.
That was the worst.
Like, I was like, what are we like? This is getting
so bad,
insane. They were doing tricks for it on Baker a lot during that game. Right?
Hey, I like Baker.
Like they were making. I like Baker. But you walked out of that game feeling like Baker just put up like some MVP type of performance, and he had 185 passing yards. Like without that run, you're like Baker played a solid game, but that run just did everything.
Another thing on Sunday too, and I think this is something to keep an eye on, is and I know it might sound like I don't know, it might sound crazy, but like the Dan Campbell bounce back a little bit. Because we've seen Dan early in his career at the Lions struggle a little bit with different decisions, and we didn't see it for the longest, unless you want to kind of blame him for some of the 49ers stuff. But yesterday or 2 days ago, Sunday afternoon was the first time we've seen it in a while, blatantly. Dan Campbell. I put the tweet out today. Like I went on the all 22. You can literally see, guys. I don't know if you guys saw my tweet. You can literally see Jared Goff in the offense going to spike the ball, and like 9 guys run out on the field for field goal unit, and it's just like, what are we doing? And so like I'm interested to see, like, for Dan, like it is a little bit of a bounce back for Dan Campbell to go out there and kind of, hey, I'm still one of the top 5 coaches in the NFL, and go out there, out coach Gannon or whatever his name is, and go out there, out coach him, and prove, hey, the better coach wins. Jeff, what do you say all the time, especially when it comes to like college football in Michigan? I think it does. incorporate to the NFL too, is winning the coaching battle is always a big thing. And if you have a coaching advantage in football, you're probably going to win football games. And so, like, you have to go out there on Sunday and prove. Like, that's a big deal. So Dan Campbell having the coaching advantage and making the right decisions, that's going to be big on Sunday, especially on the road.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, like, the coaching thing goes back to Dan Campbell. Like, he just didn't have his best coaching game. So, like I would say against Todd Bowles, you have the coaching advantage. But watching the game, you're like, dude, the Bucs are coached better. Like, they looked better. They looked like the better coach team, which is like not something I believe now, and I didn't believe it before the game. So even though you are correct, they got to go. Like, for example, the Rams and Cardinals game, like, they had the coaching advantage, but it's just like so, and that's why the Rams they got absolutely sorry, Etienne, in the chat there, but they just got absolutely destroyed. But there's a lot more to it than that. Coaching, quarterback, and obviously a good team. The Rams didn't have anybody. They literally had nobody, and they're out even more people. So that's how that goes. You need talent as well, and they need talent to play as good as advertised. So there's a lot you're looking at this week. Yeah, coaching matters. Jared Goff's got to bounce back. He has not been playing to Jared Goff's level, his typical level. And they got to call a better game offensively. And Dan Campbell, you can't have one of those debacles before halftime, dude. I mean, you just can't. Like, that cannot happen. And he knows that, and they won't have it. It won't happen again. But that's really what happens, man. I mean, you make some mistakes, and you have that result. Todd Bowles, they look well coached. They look like the better team, and you take an L. So it's only 32 jobs. Not every coach is a doofus. I mean, there's some good coaches. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but we'll see. I'm still not a huge Jonathan Gannon guy, but they have looked better this year. Fellas. The Cardinals. They're scrappy. That's what they are. They're scrappy
group.
Very scrappy group. You guys want to get to our NFL power rankings?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Jeff, I want you to go first, brother.
Oh, okay. I like that. So, hey, for those who are tuning in, every Tuesday we do our Top 10 Tuesday. We go around the NFL, give our top 10 NFL teams. We update it weekly. This is our Week 3 power rankings. So I'm going to start with my list. Are you guys ready for this? We're going to see the Bills
like Booner said about this offense. This list, it's fluid. Changes every week. You want to find some consistency, but right now it's fluid. You got to find the bearings in the top 10 right now. There's not a lot of pillars that you can just be like, yeah, that's the team that goes there.
Well, here's my top 10 rankings. So, and I'll start with it now. All right, there's my top 10 teams. And okay, so when you look at this list, it changes. In this week, I hated doing it. I hate it. For a lot of reasons. It's not even the Bills thing. It's not even the Bills thing. It's really just like the other teams, like the Saints being in my top 10 list. Like it just it doesn't make any sense. So at number one,
can't give anyone credit.
Oh, well, number 1, number 2, number 3 should be too arguable. Like the Houston Texans, they're a hell of a team. Chiefs, we know what they are. Lions, I did bump them to 3. The Texans and Chiefs right now, especially with the win that the Texans just had over a pretty good defense. I know it was a rookie quarterback, but still, they're number 2 to me. The Lions are right with the 49ers, where they're 1-1. I think they're better. You could probably say the Lions should be knocked down a spot or two. I still put them at number 3. Because again, 7 trips to the red zone, they punch it in one time. One more time they win. And I know it's always the what if, but that's the reality. The Bills are in my top 5, Boone. They are should be. They are in my top 5. So I will give you that. Bills are playing some good football. Josh Allen isn't asked to be Superman. And I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on there at 6. Well-deserved. I wouldn't put them over the Lions yet, but they had a big win against the Lions. I have the Philadelphia Eagles in my top 10. The Saints earned a spot as well. And I have the Falcons in my top 10 because the Falcons, and guys, and hear me out here, okay? Struggled week 1, didn't look good, new offense. Week 2, that's the offense they need to play. Like that, Kirk Cousins, they're running the ball well. Again, a quarterback that thrives in play action. They were able to get back to that. I think that what we saw this week against the Philadelphia Eagles is what we will see moving forward with the Falcons. I think the Falcons are going to be a good team. So I think moving forward and how they looked against the Eagles, that was a big win. That dude at the end of the game, just ... touchdown.
Darnell Mooney show, baby.
Yeah, and they look very good. Defense has a bunch of pieces. So they're in my top 10. And then the Chargers, they're 2-0. You could argue, well, the 2-0 team, they should be higher. I don't know what to think of the Chargers. They're well coached, Justin Herbert, but their defense looks really good. I mean, points per game, they're up there. So the Chargers, hey, give credit. Jim Harbaugh, I've been high on him for a while. Still think he's an incredible coach. So the Chargers are in a spot in my top 10, but there's my list.
All right, and we'll get into it more. But I'm sorry, guys. I don't know if you can see it out there in the distance. You can see it right now. It's week 2. But there's a mirage going on in the NFL right now. It's the New Orleans Saints. Great start. I think that they're off to a very hot start. But I'm just not a believer in the Saints. Like, I understand, like, 2-0. But you cannot tell me seriously, looking me face to face in the eye, that is a top 10 team in the NFL. That's just right. I understand.
I would confidently say yes.
You think they're a top 10 team in the NFL?
They have in the NFL. I say one thing all the time: NFL is one possession games consistently. Mm-hmm. They have won back-to-back weeks by like 35 points. That isn't like a fluke. No bad team or average team is winning a game. I don't care if you're playing the worst team in the NFL or the best. Winning a game by 35 points, like and Cartier said, didn't they just play the Carolina? They just beat the Cowboys by 30-something points. Like or 20, whatever, like 35-10, like whatever that's big wins. That's not just like a rollover. And no, like they're playing at an extremely high level. Like to take credit away from them is insane. Like they're finally clicking on all cylinders. Their defense is playing well. The offense with Derek Carr looks good. Out of 2 weeks, there are not 10 teams in the NFL better than the New Orleans Saints. That's a fact.
I think if you talk about like statistically their start, absolutely, like they've been a top, but this is going to come down to a crashing halt. Like the Saints will not make the playoffs.
What do you say? What did you say before this? This is a fluid list.
It's
right exactly, now the Saints are on that list.
But this is why I say, like, this is why, like, if there's a criticism I will have, where I think by the end of this year, like, I that's why, like, you go on we'll talk about my list, but like the Saints aren't on my list, and I don't think like. Looking at them, absolutely. But I think if you look, like they pounded on the Panthers, every team's going to do that. And then the Dallas Cowboys, I'm telling you, and I think you boys agree, like they are frauds. Week 1, the Dallas Cowboys always go nuts. They went 40-3 on the Giants on prime time, and then they got curb stomped against the Cardinals. Like I just don't think they've played very well. But when you put them on like top 10 teams, like when you start putting them above like legitimate NFL teams, in my opinion, that's where I'm like, no, dude, I don't think they have. They don't have what it takes with Dennis Allen as a head coach to be a top 10 team in the NFL.
If that's your problem, then you have the wrong problem. Like they put 44 points up on this Dallas defense. 44,
I agree. Like I'm hearing you. I'm not saying
this just feels wrong. Like you just don't like the Saints. I remember 2 months ago you going at Dennis Allen saying he's going to be fired by the end of the year. This is
Kubiak going crazy.
No, what do I say with Klotz? This is one of his the Pete Prisco takes. Where he has his takes before the season and now he's sticking with it. It's like the Colts.
If the Saints, who did the Saints play this week? I'm pretty sure they play Philly. I could be wrong, but like my point is, like if the Saints drop one game, they will not be in one. They will not be in one.
No, they'll be at like 12 or 13. Like they'll be
maybe,
right.
And that's maybe. That's where it's just I'm not. That's where I just like after 2 weeks. Like I think there's some teams like I just think like you can't put them in front of just because of 2 weeks in the NFL season.
I will say this. I do respect this list. I do. I think this is a really good list, Jeff. I think the teams from 8 to 10, and even outside of that, I think right now there's teams 8 to 12 or 13 that you can interchange. So like whoever has those, and
I agree. I actually agree with that take. Yeah.
Like I have some different ones. I think I have one out of those 3 final teams that you have, and I have 2 different ones. But I think it's like those teams, the Falcons and the Chargers. I thought about them. The Falcons, I say no for one reason and one reason only. Is they looked bad last night. I don't care if they won that game. They should have never won that game. They didn't. Their offense. They didn't get anything going until the final drive. Promise you that. Like I know we had the show at the beginning, but I tuned into the Manning cast after, and even Eli was like, they just need to go score a touchdown because Peyton was telling them to slow down, and Eli was like, dude, this offense has been bad all night. They haven't been able to finish all night. Like they need to just go score.
Yes, but if we're gonna keep that same energy a little bit, they won a game with that. You know what I mean? They beat a top 10 team. We all agree.
I
with the
agree.
offense
That's fair.
looking like that. You know
On
what
the
I mean?
road too, so I do respect
on the road in Philly, which is a tough place. That's why I put them there. I think this is more me of what they are now and what I think they'll be moving forward. Like I think they're going to figure it out.
There's 2-0 teams I would take over a 1-1 Falcons team personally.
Yeah, and I'm not going just off record. Like that's why I have the Chargers at 10.
Yeah,
you know, like
they're
2-0, and I even left out the Seahawks. They're 2-0. But
I just say like the Falcons were literally a Saquon catch away from being 0-2.
Yeah,
but it didn't happen. You know, like you know, it's like the Rams. I mean, you can bring this up with other teams too in other games. It's like, well, if this happened, they wouldn't have won. You know, like the Lions, if they would have scored a touchdown late, they'd probably be 1 or 2, probably 2 actually, unless you want to put them 1. But it didn't happen. So that's my opinion. I'm a little higher on the Falcons. So
I want to see Klotz's list. I'm interested to see who Klotz has instead of the Saints.
So let's get to Klotzy's. All right,
I don't think Boone's gonna like it either, but
Colts in the top 5 somehow.
There's no
staying in.
If there's no,
I'm
not gonna listen.
Staying in.
No,
they're out of there, Boone. They're out of there. But this is interesting, and I understand. I understand if I get some noise for my number 10. So I'm gonna start at 1. Kansas City Chiefs. Go ahead. I don't need to explain more. Houston Texans 2-0. 3 Detroit Lions. The reason why I moved the Lions in front of the Niners compared to last week is the injury to Deebo Samuel. I think that is going to play a big effect for them, especially when they start playing in the division. So then you got the 49ers after them. Buccaneers, I think, are a top 5 team in the NFL right now, just as a whole. I think when you look at them, they're pretty healthy. The offensive line is going to get healthier. The Eagles, and this is where it got tough for me to rank 6, 7, and 8. Because the Eagles looked really rough last night. But I love their coordinators. I do think they find a way to get it together. And then you look at the Chargers. I just think they're a very fundamental football team. Great coach, great quarterback play, great offensive line. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to get after the opposing quarterback. So I just think the Chargers right now, I'm not trying to pay too much attention to records because it's 2 weeks into the season, but I think they have played like a top 10 team. The Bills, I think they should probably be a little higher, but I just think, like I said, it was kind of hard to rank all these teams. The Bills, why they're at 8, is just because of the injuries. They keep piling on, especially defensively. I think Josh Allen, this offense, is playing very good. They're going to get Dalton Kincaid going pretty soon, I hope, at least for this offense's sake. But I just think right now on the defensive side of the ball, they're beat up. That's why I have them at 8 compared to top 5. And then at 9, I have the Vikings. Like, I think when you look at, again, they have a very good offensive line. They've been off to a good start. They just absolutely dominated and physically dominated the San Francisco 49ers. With Jordan Addison going out, they have guys like Jalen Naylor stepping up. In his first 2 starts, he's had 2 touchdowns, and he's off to a great start. Aaron Jones looking very good. And I think what they're doing offensively and defensively is blending very well, and I just think they have a good culture going on. And Kevin O'Connell, he knows how to play good quarterbacks, and he's been cooking. And finally, the Cincinnati Bengals, boys. I understand they're 0-2. But if you look at what the Cincinnati Bengals did yesterday, they're about to go on a tear. They're going to get T. Higgins back. They looked rough against the Patriots. Like, I will give you that. But so did the Seattle Seahawks, who are 2-0 right now. I think people are just, including myself, just kind of threw off the Patriots as far as, like, they're going to be dog shit. I don't think they're going to win a lot of games, but they're not going to get blown out. And so you take that in a grain of salt. The Cincinnati Bengals usually start out slow. If you look at what T. Higgins did, how they look defensively, Patrick Mahomes arguably had the worst game of his career yesterday. And if that defense is stepping up, Joe Burrow is going to be back. I think the Cincinnati Bengals have a real shot at winning the AFC North, and I think they will be a top 10 football team. And watching them yesterday, they looked like it going against the Chiefs.
I'm just going to say this with the Bengals, Klotz. I do love you. I think, and I actually thought about the Bengals, and then it clicked into my head. Recency bias of the last thing you see of a football team, to where you see they almost beat the Chiefs, but they looked tough versus the Patriots.
They did.
There are 0-2 teams. There are teams that have lost 2 games who have 2 better losses that I'm like, I think they're a better football team, and if they went head to head, they would beat the Bengals.
See, I think that the Burrow thing is what changed it. Like, Burrow looked rough against the Patriots, but Burrow looked back to being Burrow. Like, the whole reason why we're like the Bengals are done is people are like, Joe Burrow's done. He's injury riddled. He's just not himself. He hasn't played a good stretch of football. If you watch like how the Cincinnati Bengals have always started, they start very, very slow. T. Higgins is coming back this week. I think they're starting to find the run game with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. That defense finally was able to play a good game. And I think when you look at, they're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs and Arrowhead, who they always play well against. But I just think that this Bengals team starting out 0-2 is way too talented to miss the playoffs. I think they're in a situation like the Lions. Obviously, they're not 0-2. But that division's wide open. The Baltimore Ravens are 0-2. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the head of it right now. If you're asking me right now, who's going to win that division based off last weekend, it's the Cincinnati Bengals to me.
I
don't believe in the Browns.
Some teams, like, I don't know.
I don't think there's any
disappointed
hype with the
bit.
Bengals right now.
Like the
I think all
Chargers. I'm not telling you. I'm saying like the Chargers at 7. Like they beat the Panthers and Raiders.
Dude, and I'll just say this, like, and I get the Saints thing, but I mean, if we're doing week 3 power rankings, the Bengals, no way, no how. There's other teams, like I would say, and honestly, I get like you're basing it off, and I don't know if you're doing like season power, like you think the Saints will fall off. They're playing better than the Bengals right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like right now, but if you're gonna look me dead in the eyes and say that the Saints are a better football team than the Cincinnati Bengals, like that's where it's just
through week.
If they played on Sunday, I would take the Saints money line.
And that's where I just disagree because I think that T. Higgins coming back is huge for this offense. It's like asking like if you were to take Jameson Williams right now off the Detroit Lions roster. And it's just like that's what they're going in. T. Higgins is a guy that has chemistry with this offense. Right now, they just lost Joe Mixon, so they're trying to figure out that run game. But I think Joe Mixon is going to be very good. Or not Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow is going to continue to be very good. They have a favorable schedule coming up. Like, I like what they have going on. Like, I understand it's 0-2.
I like what they have going on.
And then,
that team, you like what they
it was the same thing with the Colts last week. And then when the Bengals go 0-3, we're going to have to move them off. And then there's going to be like a random team in there again at 10.
The Patriots, the Chiefs, like they have started out slow. Everybody was not sold on the Chiefs last year. I'm not saying
they haven't picked up yet. But they haven't picked back up.
You watch week 1 to week 2, there was a complete difference in that offense. There's a complete difference in how Joe Burrow played. I think Mike Gesicki's in the actual tight end is going to be huge for them. If I understand that they look lost right now, that's fine. But there's not going to be a team at the end of like the Cincinnati Bengals will be in the playoffs.
I can't really talk much because I have an 0-2 team in my top 10 as well. But it's not the Bengals.
Like I just think if you look at it reasonably, like if you take out the recency bias, like the on paper and how they played last week, if the Chiefs or if the Bengals were 1-1, like they'd be a top 10 team. And I understand that takes a huge factor in the power rankings, but they dropped the ball week 1. That's the fact of the matter. Like they played like shit. Okay, move on. And I think they've had a very good showing against the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Kansas City Chiefs are the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think that does have to play.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I really can't say anything about his 10 take because I have an 0-2 team at 10 too. So I got to take a step back with this one.
Well, let's.
I'm out. Hey, Klotz, I love your list. I'm taking a step back. I'm tapping out.
I personally am not a huge fan of the 0-2 team being in the top 10, even though you're projecting, but we're not project. This is right now, week 3, and they look like absolute garbage.
I don't understand how you can look at Sunday and be like that team looks like absolute garbage.
Not garbage. Not garbage.
Like they literally held Patrick Mahomes to his worst career game. He threw 150 passing yards and 2 interceptions. But they put that offense in a chokehold. And Joe Burrow was getting mobile again. He looked very healthy. He was getting the ball down the field, and he was spreading the ball throughout the whole offense, not forcing it to Jamar Chase. So it's like, okay, if you say they look awful, not you, Jeff, but like the Bengals look awful. You go watch that game. The Bengals looked really fucking good. Like everybody was giving credit to the LA Rams. They're like, wow, they looked really good against the Detroit Lions. Kept them kind of in that criteria. And I was just like, Bengals close against Super Bowl champions. They looked like trash. Like, no, watch that game. The Cincinnati Bengals looked very good offensively and very good defensively.
All right. Well, let's get to let's get to Booners. All right, because now Booner's kind of insinuating he might have an 0-2 team in his top 10. So let's see if he's got his top 10 here, and then we'll get the mics here. But here's Booner's. Booner.
Okay, I'm going to say this too because you made this comment about right now as well, and I'm going to stick up for Klotz even though I was going at him. I just don't like the Bengals there. I've watched the Bengals the last 2 weeks, and there's something about the Bengals that just doesn't get me the right way. I don't like there's only one 0-2 team that I think deserves to even be close to the top 10, and it's the Baltimore Ravens. So and I get it, Klotz, I get your point because I have a similar point with the Ravens, but I just think if the Ravens I think the Ravens are the best team in that division, and then that might just be us having different takes. But we could say right now, and then we all should have all of the top 2-0 teams in our top 10. If we're saying right now, you're still looking at football roster, football team. Yeah, teams have made mistakes, but how are teams coming away? How are they losing? Things like that. I do think the Baltimore Ravens, I had them at 4 or 5 last week. Them losing again, and they were up the whole game and just drop a game to the Raiders, a tough Raiders team. I know they're not great, but that's a gritty Raiders team. We know what the Raiders are about. And dropping a team to them, I'm like, I still think the Ravens are one of the best teams in football. They just dropped 2 games. And I think they're going to get this thing back on track. Like John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, that defense, like I can't sit back and say the Ravens are one of the worst teams in football just because they're 0-2. Like, yeah, right now, if that's what we're going to do, like, all right, I'm going to go to ESPN right now. I'm going to go to the league standings, and I'll click record, and I'll just take the top 10 teams they have listed and throw them up on my weekly power rankings. Like, that's right now. All right. So number 9, sorry about that. Went on a little rant there. And Purple Prince said, Booner, this is the same argument Klotz. I know. That's why I said I'm tapping out, because back in the back of my head, I realized I know what the points Klotz making. That's what, someone in this industry can sit back and say when I was wrong. I was going at Klotzy a little too hard there. That's on me, Klotzy. I just didn't like the Bengals.
You want the Ravens, I want the Bengals.
It had nothing to do with the 0-2. It just had more so I just don't want the Bengals in my top 10. Number 9, the Minnesota Vikings guys think they're unbelievable. Unbelievable beating the 49ers. Don't care if it was without CMC. They're sitting there at 2-0, and they played they played the Panthers, I think, and then they played the 49ers. Like, that's fine. Like, you just went out there and beat the 49ers in Kyle Shanahan. All respect to you. And so I think they're one of the better teams in football right now. That's a team where it's like you just don't want to play the Vikings, especially on the road. Like, you do not. 8, New Orleans Saints. Guys, this is Klotz. This is the only one I'm really disappointed in you in. The Saints automatically should be in everyone's top 10. Like, they have beat teams by 30. They have beat teams, Klotzy, by 30-plus points every week. If you are 2-0, and again, if we're talking about, hey, what is this team? What are they? Maybe, Klotz, I get it. They might look a little different than what you expected in the preseason. And you got to be able to say, like, yep, I get that. And they might actually be a decent football team. Because you don't go out there and win by 30 or 40 points, and you're just like a bad team, and Dennis Allen's a bad coach. Like, he's had these guys ready to go. And that's just a fact of the matter.
So let me ask you, and this is a question. It's not a shot. Why are the Saints then? Because they've been blowing out these teams. They look good defensively. Offensive coordinator clicking. 2-0. Why are they not top 5? Because they look like
again, Klotzy. I get that. I'm not looking at just 2-0 record. Again, that's why I have the Ravens at 10. I'm looking at, all right, yeah, they've blown teams out, but they're like, if we're looking at, hey, score and record, but we're also I'm looking at the roster. How good is a football team? What are their coaches like? I'm looking at everything as a whole. That's why the Lions they're at number 3 for me, is because they've dropped the game. They look tougher, but I still believe the Lions are a really good football team, and they're going to go out there and win a big game this Sunday. So that's why I have the Lions still at 3. So, like, you do have to mix and match. Like, there are 2-0 teams that are behind some 1-1 teams on my list. But again, it is to me like eyesight. Who has a good football team? Who's playing well? They're playing really, really good. Like, to your point, they're outside of your top 10. I put in my top 10. I'll give them respect at 8 and say, hey, this is a team you don't want to run into. They're playing out of all the teams in the NFL, they're playing top 10 football right now. That's a fact. Number 7, the Eagles. The Eagles were literally, guys, I didn't want to drop them out. There's a lot of people nationally that dropped the Eagles out. They were one pass away from winning that football game. That was on Nick Sirianni. You guys know that. The Bucs, all credit due to the Bucs. Maybe I could have put them at 5, but a top 6 team in the NFL, respect. You guys know the 49ers. You guys know, I'll go to Chiefs here. You guys know about the Chiefs. I'm going to keep the Chiefs 1, 2, 3 to me. Chiefs, Texans, Lions. That's perfect. Jeff, you're spot on with that. But number 4 is the Buffalo Bills, guys. All respect to the Buffalo Bills. Everyone should be apologizing to me right now. Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills, baby. And they have a tough schedule, so they might drop a couple games, but this is still a really good football team. And they probably, and I've said it before, they probably have the hardest schedule in the entire NFL. Literally, the number 1 probably hardest schedule. I don't care if they are not ranked number 1. Go look at their schedule and look me in the eyes and say it's not the hardest schedule. So they're going to drop some games, but I think consistently this year they're going to be a tough team. I kept them at number 4. I moved them up to number 4, actually, and I moved the 49ers down. So that's my top 10. The biggest surprises is probably the Ravens and then the 8, 9, 10.
The Ravens, I don't know what you always think. The Ravens, you drop one to good old Minshew and Antonio Pierce. And it's a tough pill to swallow there. I don't know if to me they're a top 10 team. I don't really hate any rest of your list. I mean, this is all pretty fair. I mean, I think me and you might have the same top 5. I mean, everything kind of, it's different after that. Yeah, I don't know about you and your guys' this obsession with 0-2 teams. I mean, I don't.
It's just those are good football teams still.
I just don't think it's way too early to write off some of these 0-2 teams. Like it's just way too early.
Not write off, but in a week 3 power ranking, they wouldn't be there.
But then I think in that case, like if in my opinion, when I'm making this list, if we're just looking at that, then I think by default, like the Saints, they've looked a lot better than the Lions. Like the Buccaneers have looked a lot better than the Lions. They just beat them. And that's where it comes down to, okay, if we're doing week 2, like there's got to be some objectivity, in my opinion, of the roster that's actually made up.
I think 1-1, yes, because you're like, well, they're 1-1, but they're still a better team. 0-2, like
it's a one-game difference. It's a one-game difference.
The Ravens. If the Ravens pull out one of those
top 10 team,
but Jeff, like if the Ravens pull out that win, you have them probably in the top 6. They drop a tough game. They're still one of the better teams in football at the end of the day.
That like if the Lions, like I'll just tell you guys this: if the Lions were 0-2, that's where I'll ask you. Like I get that. It depends on how it looks. Like I'd have to see the game and see how it looks because that matters. Like the Ravens were close. Like I'm going to be honest. I have more of an issue with the Bengals than the Ravens because the Ravens were a toe, like literally half a toe from going to overtime against the Chiefs, and they like could have won that game.
At the same time, though, the Cincinnati Bengals are a toe away from Mike Gesicki winning that game. Like he had a touchdown, he had a toe stepped out of bounds, and it's a rough loss. Like I'm not ignoring it's a rough loss. But it's like, okay, let's look at the real context of that week 1 game. Like Joe Burrow coming off an injury. Jamar Chase did not do anything in training camp. Like he literally did not know if he was going to play right before that game. T. Higgins out. Defensively, they had some injuries going on. Like that's why I think like, yeah, it's a rough loss. But let's not act like that's the Cincinnati Bengals. Like a lot of people had this team winning the AFC North. And I think if you're going to do it after 1 loss, 2 losses, and I think it's hard to like go after a team for losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like you're going off 1 glaring bad loss, like, okay, I get it. But in week 5, when this team's winning 2-3 games in a row, like it's like, okay, this is why. It's kind of like Booner with the Bills. Like they don't like, obviously it's more so going into the season because they're 2-0. But they like played the Arizona Cardinals. You're not going to get hype about that. Like it's just, okay, bad loss, move on, keep going. Like it's a good team. That's still a top 10.
Falcons beating a top 7 team means what?
Falcons are probably on like that 11 bubble for me. Like I was debating between Bengals and Falcons, but if you were to ask me right now who's going to win, I would have the Bengals beating the Falcons at this point. Like in week 1, I get it. Like going into week 2, you wouldn't say that, but I think coming off of 2 bad losses, like the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be ready to play some football. Atlanta Falcons, I think defensively are not what the Bengals are. Offensively, they're not what the Bengals are. The thing that the Falcons do have on the Bengals is the running game. But I don't think that Kirk Cousins is able just to outplay Joe Burrow. And I think when you're playing Joe Burrow in those type of teams, you got to be able to step up. And those are just games where Kirk Cousins hasn't been able to do that consistently.
Jacoby Brissett had something to say week 1 about him.
Absolutely. But they also were playing like that against the Seattle Seahawks. Like the Patriots are going to be a very good defensive team. Defensively, they're going to be locked in. They're going to give quarterbacks trouble. Like even last year, they were terrible, but their defense was top 10 in the league. Their defense got better.
Let's get to Mike's. Let's get to Mike's list here. Let's see what Mike's got. Maybe Mike can bring some like sanity here, or maybe we could just get pissed off.
Mine's a little different too, but I think like Booner said or Lucas said earlier, I think like 7 through 10, maybe 8 through 10 or 8 through 12 rather is kind of like all interchangeable and can be your own opinion, but throw it up.
All right, let's see. Let's get Gentry's list. Gentry's top 10 teams.
The one change I would make about this, given the injuries, I would swap the Texans and the 49ers, but I'm keeping that top 5 the same. If Nick Sirianni, like Ben Johnson in the red zone, I think had a few better play calls for Saquon Barkley. They get in the end zone. His knee getting down for that one definitely sucked too, even though they ended up getting it in. But I would say the Bucs at 6. Boone, I have your Bills at 7. And then, and I think I had the Bills at 9 last week, so they moved up a couple spots. Boone, I like what I've seen from Josh Allen, but I still have the Bucs ahead of them, given they beat the Lions. And then the Chargers. Obviously, they don't have 2 of the greatest wins, being the Raiders and the Panthers, but the number 10 team on Boone's list just lost to the Raiders. So you can't say, given the Chargers haven't beat anyone, when the Ravens just lost to them, and the Raiders haven't looked all that terrible.
Talk to him, right?
And the Chargers, I mean, it's good things that you're seeing from this team. One, their offensive line has looked very, very good, and then their defense is making some noise. So two of the biggest problems that teams had, they're kind of working it out. And I have the New York Jets. Obviously, I think the first game, they kept it close, somewhat close. There was a lot of stuff working around that game with Aaron Rodgers just coming back. They only lose to 10 points to the 49ers when they looked pretty damn good week 1, and then they go get a win over Tennessee, which you win games that you're supposed to. But I think this team will be a top 10 team all season long. They have one of the best defenses in the league. And then week by week, as Aaron Rodgers becomes more of himself and gets more healthy, I think they'll be fine. And then number 10, I did give some respect to the Saints. I mean, two dominant offensive performances. I don't think they'll be in this spot very long. I'm kind of more under the impression, like Lucas, it is kind of more fluky than it is real, but I do think they are deserving of this 10th spot.
There's not going to be a top 10 list I put out with Dennis Allen head coaching a team.
See, that's just that point. That's just like
it's just by default. They're not.
Dude, that could be 8-0, and you're just going to keep using that excuse. Like that's why you have to be able to be unbiased.
They're not going to be 8-0.
That was why, like the first couple weeks when you guys kept leaving the Bills off, it's like you have to be unbiased at some point. Like at some point, we got to be football. Some point,
I'm with you.
You can't just not have them on there because you don't like your head coach.
Come week 4, maybe week 5.
That's crazy. Like if they're 4-0 and you don't have them on, that's crazy.
That's fair. 4-0, I hear you. But
dude, if they win next week and you don't have them on,
that could be very fair, Booner. But as of right now, I am not a believer in the Saints. Could that change?
Your only argument is, Dennis Allen's their head coach. That's crazy.
That was my big thing.
Quarterback. Chris Olave is not a guy that stays healthy consistently. They still have a young offensive line.
You're talking like. Yeah,
I get it.
Will they be in our week 7 power rankings? Probably not. But week 3, they had, dude. Not even them. But I'm not even mad. I'm more mad about really the Bengals being there.
Like having the Colts on there last week.
The Colts.
You should have put the Colts on there. You would have been.
I mean, at this point, you might as well have the Colts on your list.
Absolutely. But I just think, obviously, looking at these lists, that I look at it a little bit differently than you guys. I don't want to hear about how the Saints aren't on it, Jeff, when you don't have the Minnesota Vikings on yours. It makes no sense.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
I don't have
2-0. Look good. They just beat a top 5.
I have the Saints and the Vikings. Put some respect on my name
in there, Jeff. So we're both missing one. It's not that big of a deal. Then when you go to the Bengals, we get back. Like again, we can look at the record. That's fine. It's week 2 of the NFL season. If we're gonna be looking at record, Geno Smith, Seattle Seahawks 2-0. They beat the Patriots and the Broncos. I'm not putting them up there. I'm sorry. Same thing with the Saints. Like I'm not really believing what they're doing. I love their offensive coordinator. They beat the Carolina Panthers and the Dallas Cowboys. I understand it's in Dallas, but the Dallas Cowboys are not going to be that good of an NFL team. They're going to be a mid-NFL team. They're going to win some games, and they're going to have some games where they get blown out like they did this weekend. Like, I understand that. It's not the 2-0, 0-2. When I watch what the Bengals are, what they've done in the past, they looked like the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday. That's all I need to see. That's a top 10 team in the NFL to me.
Yeah. Well, here's the difference.
To be fair, going into the season, I was under the same impression as Lucas was. We were kind of head-to-head on it, with the Saints being one of the worst teams because of Dennis Allen. But one big thing, not as only is the David Carr and the offense looks confident, but the defense has been showing up too. So, and I don't think, like I said, I think this is the last week they'll be in this top 10. They'll probably drop their next 4 games. They play the Eagles, the Falcons, the Chiefs, and the Bucks. So they're probably going minimum like 1-3 in that. So, but given the way they played through the first 2 weeks, the defense hitting on all cylinders, and then the offense putting up like 40 points a game was the reason I put them in there. But do I think they're going to stay in here? Absolutely not. We will not see them probably from next week moving forward in this top 10.
Yeah, and the thing with me with the Vikings, like I'll admit, you could probably make an argument they could squeak in there at 10. You're like, no way. They're in a top 10. Like, honestly, I don't even hate that. The Vikings should be in there. Like, okay, we can have that discussion. This man does.
Yeah, I do. That's what's crazy. Is like, I'm with Jeff on that.
Like it's like blasphemy. They're even close. It's like
the Saints.
What? The only thing that the Saints have on. Let's go through this. Coaching, no. Quarterback, no. Running back, yes. Wide receiver, no.
It's not a ranking of it. Like
they've won by 30-something points back-to-back in the NFL, the National Football League. Like correct. That's not a fluke. I don't care anything about what receivers, what running backs. I don't care who is their water boy. If you're winning by 30 points and you're 2-0, you're a top 10 football team. Like, it's unbelievable. There's no argument. Like, I will argue the Vikings not being top 10, but the Saints are winning by 30 plus. I don't care if they're playing the school of blind. You're dominating in the NFL right now. Put some respect on those wins. I don't care if Dennis Allen is the head coach. I could be coaching this game for goodness sake, dude.
Okay.
The school of the blind. That's just, yeah.
Guys, come on. I don't want you to say
I know it's just crazy to me. It's not even like with you specifically. It's just crazy to me. But it's fine. We'll roll on next week, and they won't be in any of our top 10 lists.
But
that's why.
Guess what? That'll be week 4. That'll be week 4.
That's why I had to get ahead of it.
It'll be week 4, and that's my thing is there's no point in my opinion. Okay. By default, you have to put this team in there, even though I know next week they're not going to be in there. How is a team, in my opinion, a team doesn't just change from a top 10 team to a not top 10 team in 1 week.
Where are the Ravens?
The Ravens are probably at like 12. They're outside of it.
They shouldn't be at 12 then, based on your logic.
Why?
Because projection, they'll be fine, Lucas.
No, why is because we'll get back to me and Booner's point. I'm high. Okay, Jeff, you're asking me a question. Let me answer the question. You asked me why the Ravens at 12 because I have the Cincinnati Bengals at 10. I have more faith in the Bengals than the Ravens at 12. That's where it falls. When I look at the Ravens and the Bengals right now, the Ravens, they really haven't lost anybody. What the Ravens is really killing them is, in my opinion, Marlon Humphrey is a shell of himself. He's been holding that defense together in the run game and the pass game. He's been playing terrible. And that has been showing throughout the season. There's Ravens fans heckling Marlon Humphrey in this defense saying, what the fuck is going on? Not Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, a rookie tight end, had 100 yards on you. Devontae Adams had 100 yards on you. Zamir White had almost 7 rushing yards on you. That's not Baltimore Ravens football. They have Derrick Henry. They refuse to give him the ball. They have no offensive identity. They have no defensive identity. When I watched the Cincinnati Bengals last week, I was like, oh, they have a defensive identity. Oh, they got their offensive identity back. They're back. But they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So that's where it's like it's different to me. What is the New Orleans Saints defensive identity? Offensive identity?
I really don't care, dude. Whatever it is, they're beating teams by 30 points. Like, just keep doing it. Like, I really could care less.
But
like,
that's my point is they're not going to keep doing it. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to keep doing it. I think
they haven't. They're 0-2.
Going to keep doing it. They haven't. But what I'm saying is you're going to keep seeing them play like they did this Sunday, and that's going to beat the majority of teams in the NFL.
Okay, yeah, and that's fine. Again, and this isn't a conversation of whether the Bengals are done. I mean, I have them winning the division, but but it's just through 2 weeks or now in the NFL. I guess we just value like how teams are playing well and what teams aren't. You just look at it differently than I do, and that's okay. But let's move on here, boys, because I kind of want to get to fact or fiction. I kind of want to get to it, Boone. I'm excited. I want to get to fact or fiction. Can we do that?
I'm with it.
Boone, are you locked? What's going on? Are you dead?
Yeah, let's do the other 9:30 segment here first. Let's do that first.
Well, the reason why I'm pivoting, Boone, you got to trust me here because we talked about it earlier. So there's not really much to add there with that topic. I'm being honest. Do we have?
Yeah, I've got some. I've got some here. I'm in the chat right now. I'm working. I'm in the chat battling. I enjoy mixing it up with the people. Some people are like, sometimes you guys are like, Booner, leave the chat alone sometimes. No, I enjoy mixing it up with the fellas sometimes. Some people come at me. There's people coming at me because I like the Saints. 3 out of the 4 of us on this show have the Saints. I'm not the only one arguing the Saints. People are just trying to go against me just because they like to have your own opinion for once. People, come on, form your own opinion. Jeez, I hate when people don't have their own opinion. It's like the worst thing in the world, dude. You know what I mean? It's just like, dude, just have your own opinion. They don't always say the opposite of what I say. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I love the people still, though. I'm all in on the people.
Yeah.
Burning issues. I love you. I love you, burning issues. All right. Fact or fiction? You guys ready for this?
Let's do it.
Born ready.
All right. Fact or fiction? Detroit Lions edition. Are you guys ready? All right.
Hold on.
Oh, okay. I'm waiting. Music?
Hold on. Yeah, here we go. All right, but let's get
All right. After week 2, Jameson Williams, 200 yards. Fact or fiction? Jameson Williams ends the NFL season with over 1,000 yards.
Oh, happy.
Anybody else want to start? No,
I'll go. I'm going
No,
fact.
yeah, you go, Mike. You take the pressure off.
I'm going fact. I think obviously we talked about it a little bit earlier, how much targets he's getting, how much more involved he is. I think he's a big part of their game plan. Obviously, it's not the identity of this team. We want to get back to running the ball, but 200 yards through 2 games rather shows how big of a game plan and how much of an impact he is going to have on this offense throughout the season. I do expect the targets to kind of lower down and get a little bit lower, but I still think he's going to be getting a good amount of yards per game. So 200 yards through 2 games, I don't think anyone expected that. Jeff, like you brought up earlier in the show, he's like a quarter of the way there to his over through 2 games. So I do think he's going to get the over, and I don't really think it's going to be hard. I think it'll kind of be easy. I think he'll get 1,000.
It's tough to say after the start of the season because I do think Sam Laporte is going to start clicking it back together, but I think the start that JMO had by like 200 yards through 2 games. I wonder, Boone, while I'm thinking of this, can you pull up some quick math on what he'd have to average? There's 15 games left, and he's got 800 yards, so it'd be 800 divided by 15. Whatever that is, it's probably going to be like 40, 50 yards, and I think Jameson Williams is going to have – how much is it, 53?
Yeah.
So I think Jameson Williams is going to have another probably 2 or even more than that, 100-plus yards game coming through. So I think it's got to be over at this point. And I think our conversation going, well, who's going to be the 1,000-yard receiver? Sam Laporte or Jameson Williams? I think this year is going to be Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I wasn't sure which angle you were going to go, but it have to be fact. The way he's playing, the way he's trending, Sam Laporta being hurt, I think that does kind of set him back a little bit. I think by the time like he does get up to speed, JMO will just he'll keep up this production, and they're like, well, he's just the way he's playing. You got to keep getting him the football. So he's had such a great first 2 games. It's going to be hard. Like he would have to really melt down the rest of the year to not get 1,000. So I'm going to go with yes. He has to stay healthy, obviously, and I think he will. So I'm going to go yes or fact.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to probably go fact too. It's like impossible, I think, right now for him not to get it. Like it would have to be like a drastic drop off. So I do think that Jameson Williams gets it. All right. This is another one. I've got a really good one here, guys. Fact or fiction? Detroit Lions. I want to see what the people think on this. Levi Onwuzurike.
All right.
Will have over 6.5 sacks. 6.5 sacks this season.
He's got 1 right now combined, right? Half sack in each
through 2 games.
6.5.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go fiction on that. I think there will be some other people that are get involved. I think you'll see Aleem and DJ kind of get their thing. Hopefully, someone shows up on the opposite side of Hutch. That's probably going to be a big thing for this week. Obviously, containing Kyler Murray, not letting him get out of the pocket. But I'm gonna go fiction. I don't think so. He has made a good impact thus far, but there's a little injury risk to him. So I think I'm gonna go fiction.
Yeah, what Mike said. No, I'm gonna go fiction. I agree with Mike. I just don't know. Oh, he said over 6.5, so he has to get 7. So no, I'm gonna say fiction. I think he's short of that. I can see like 5-6 sacks at most for Levi. Wow. So fiction.
I've been big on the Levi O slander. I have been. I've probably been one of the most vocal Levi O antagonists out there. I have not been a guy that's bought Levi O stock. But I'm buying this one. I think he does find a way. I think the fact that Aleem McNeil's not showing up the way that he has, I think, not saying that Aleem's been bad, but the production isn't going to be there. I think the production getting to the quarterback got to be somewhere. I think Marcus Davenport's going to be hurt throughout the season consistently. Obviously, it's not something I'm bragging about. I just think that's a fact of the matter. And I think the fact that Levi's not starting, he's on a rotation, is going to keep him healthy. I definitely think there's a game where Levi can get 1.5 sacks, could probably get 2 sacks. So I think throughout the season, 17 games, he's already got 1. I think it's definitely possible for him to get 5.5 more sacks through 15 more games. Well, so I'm going to say fact.
If he stays healthy.
I love your thought process on that because I'm going to say fact as well. I do think he gets 6.5 at least. I don't see how if he has 1 and 2 games, he's been dominating. Like even he does have to stay healthy, but he's been dominating. It feels like over these last 2 games, and if he stays consistent, he's going to get 6.5, maybe even 7. Like that would not be shocking to me at all. All right, next thing. Are you guys ready for this one?
Let's do it.
Fact or fiction? The Detroit Lions will still end up having 2 1,000-yard running backs. Fact or fiction?
That's a good one, Boone.
I'll go if you want, Jeff.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm gonna go with fiction. I think one player that certainly will get there if the man gets the ball, which it looks like it's still kind of similar. It's a similar offense to last year. I think it's going to be Dave Montgomery. I think Dave Montgomery is, at this point, seems to be like still the lead back, even though Jameer is getting worked in. So I'm going to go one of them. If you want to go Jameer or David, fine. But I don't think both get 1,000. I think Jameer his receiving will be significantly increased. But in terms of both of them getting 1,000 yards, I think it'll be kind of like last year. One gets 1,000, one short of 1,000. And you could pick whoever, Jameer or David, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think before the season, I was kind of high on both of them getting it, and even though I think it's kind of switched off. David had the good week 1, and then Jameer had the good week 2, and I think the carries will still be split moving forward. I kind of agree with you, Jeff. I think one of them will fall just short. I think one of them, being Jameer Gibbs, gets a little bit over, and I think Monty gets the boatload of the touchdowns after that shitty red zone performance. I think they kind of go back to what works, being hand the ball off to the bully and let him get in the end zone. But I think Monty will still get his touchdown in his red zone share, and I think Jameer gets over 1,000 yards.
Yeah, uncooked on that one. I have the exact same stance. I think even like this week, I think we're going to see a big game from one of those two running backs. And I just think it's the hot hand regardless. Dan Campbell's already said it. Whoever the hot hand is going to get it. So I just think it's going to stay that way throughout the season. But I agree with Unc. I think Monty's going to get his 12 touchdowns. He's going to probably get 950 yards. But I just think Jameer Gibbs, he's still a guy that's going to go out 1,200 rushing yards. I think he still has that capability. I know it's kind of been a shaky, rough start for him into the beginning of the season, but that's how it's been this offense as a whole outside of Jameson Williams. So this run game is going to get back on track. And when that gets back on track, you're going to have the Jameer Gibbs big games and David Montgomery big games. It's only a matter of time.
All right, next one. You guys ready?
Let's hear Boone.
Wait, did you answer?
No, I didn't. I wasn't going to.
I tried to say.
Hell no.
Boone's been trying to spin zone way too much.
No, I think I'm going to say fact.
He wants to say fact.
He wanted it.
I think what's going to happen too is I think after this week they know they have to get really back into the run game, and I think what's going to happen is you're going to see them drastically do it, and it's going to be all right, like overdo it, maybe not to where it's like bad for the team, but they're going to really make an emphasis on it. So I think these guys are going to start running the ball a lot better, and you're going to see again 50, 60 yards out of both of them consistently the rest of the season. That's fair. Good answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, cool. I answered for you guys. You're welcome. Next one here. Fact or fiction? Ben Johnson and this Detroit Lions offense will get back to a top 3 offense in the NFL this season. Fact or fiction?
You go. You take this one, Gentry. You can go first.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, Boone?
I got you, Boone. I got you. I think it's fiction. I don't think they're going to be a top 3 offense. It doesn't mean they're going to be a bad offense. But I just think the shell that they're trying to get out of right now, I just don't think it's going to be happening. I think there's going to be a couple other teams throughout the NFL season that have more consistency. And then if you just look at their schedule as well, the back half of it defensively, they have a tough schedule. So I just think they'll be a top 5 offense again, but they're still going they won't be top 3, but they'll still be top 5 and very good.
Yeah, I think kind of what Lucas hit it on the nail right there. I think they'll still be a top 5. They'll be top 5, top 6 offense. But I still don't think they'll creep in the top 3. I think they'll be right outside of it. And I think mostly that will be probably because of the passing game, if I was to guess on anything. But, I'm going top 5.
Yeah, I don't know about top 3. I'm not. I think how they started it, like Dan said, if Dan's remarks were this offense is going to take a couple of weeks, correct? So in a couple of weeks, will they be top 5? Yeah, I think so. The run game, what they're going to do on teams, and of course what they're trying to do in the passing game, I think they'll get there. Top 3 though, no, I don't think they're going to hit that mark. So I'll say fiction.
Man, you guys have some faith in Ben Johnson. They're going to turn this offense around, and they're going to end up top 3 by the end of the season. I guarantee that. I said I think this offense can be number 1 in the NFL, and I know right now they're really low, but it's only through 2 weeks. So once you get this offense getting going a little bit, I do believe that there's an opportunity for them to get this back. I'm going to go fact on this one. All right, next one. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, Boone.
The man who's been struggling, the guy who hasn't been able to figure it out, Jared Goff, the quarterback. The guy, Everyone's chanting this guy's name besides the last 2 weeks. Fact or fiction? Jared Goff still ends the season with 30-plus touchdown passes.
Ooh, I didn't like how many. He only has one, right? As of right now.
Yes. I believe
So we got 15 games left, 29. He's
gonna average pretty much 2 a game.
Yeah, I'll go fact. I think he does. I mean, that would be about 2 a game. I think he could do that. This offense, especially with the emergence now of JMO, more big play opportunities. So I'm going to go fact with that. I think he hits 30.
I think he hits it too. I don't think he'll be over by much. If he does, I think it'll be like 31 to 32, 33. But I expect there's going to be some games where he throws for more than two touchdowns, like you guys alluded to. That's all he needs to get. And then he will have those games. Obviously, it hasn't looked great in the red zone, and we are looking forward to running the ball more. But there will be those opportunities, especially when Sam Laporta gets healthy, where things are opening up in the red zone and Goff gets more loose. So I'll go fact.
I'll go fact as well. I really want to say fiction because I think he's going to get like 29, ironically. But I just think there's just going to be too many games where this offense gets the ball going with the run game, and then they get in the red zone and Jared Goff finds a way to get it going. I think with Sam Laporta, he's going to pick it up in the red zone, especially. Jameson Williams, I think, is going to have more receiving touchdowns than Josh Reynolds. And I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not to mention, like Jeff said earlier, Jahmyr Gibbs through the receiving game is definitely going to take a step up, and that's going to result in a touchdown or two more than I think he did last year. So I'm going to give him 30, Boone. I'll give him 30 fact.
Wow, hey, I love that. I'm going to go as well, guys. I'm going to go fact, and I'm pulling this up real quick because I am interested to see. Listen, guys, he had a 2-game stretch where he had one touchdown and 0 touchdowns. Guess what? Last year, Baltimore Ravens, 0 touchdowns. Next game, Las Vegas Raider, 1 touchdown. Crazy. In a 2-game stretch, he only had 1 touchdown. He will be able to go out there and get 30-plus this year. This thing's going to get turned around. He's going to start playing better. He's just had a bad stretch of football. He's had that in years past and still thrown for 30 touchdowns. A fact that Jared Goff's going to turn this thing around and throw for 30-plus touchdowns. Top 5 in the NFL. So I'm not worried at all. Last one we have here, fellas. Fact or fiction, Detroit Lions edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson will win Defensive Player of the Year.
So I've said this before. I think he'll be in the race. I give credit to Boone for even calling that. I don't think he'll win it. I think he falls short this year. I think he'll win it next year or the following year. I think I think Hutch is rising. He's hitting his prime. You have guys like TJ Watt, if healthy, who's in his prime. I made that point yesterday. I still think TJ Watt, it's his award to lose. But I do think Aiden will be in the race. Just not this season he'll win it. So I'll say fiction for this season.
Yeah, just to not waste any breath, I align straightly with Jeff. I think that Aiden Hutchinson, Boone, I'm going to give you credit because he's going to be much higher than I thought. I think Aiden Hutchinson is going to finish like 2 or 3 going into the season. I thought he was going to finish like 5 or 6. So he's definitely impressed me more than I thought he would already this season. So it's definitely going to be close. I think it will be very close towards the end of it, but I do think TJ Watt gets the award, especially after last season.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same bucket, Boone. I'm sorry because I'm rooting for Hutch. You know, that's our guy, Michigan man. But I think by the end of the year, some things will settle out, and he'll still be in the race, but I don't think he wins it. I think similar to what Jeff and Lukas said, maybe next year, the year after that, I think there's a couple guys that kind of reach up and steal it from him this year. But to Lucas's point, the start has been unreal. I don't think anyone could have expected Hutch to have this type of start. I think we kind of expected it to be more of a group effort and getting some other guys to the quarterback and the defensive line getting more involved. But Hutch has been a one-man wrecking crew, so you got to give credit to him.
I mean, listen to
He's disappointed.
I mean, I am because, like, I actually thought I think Jeff and Gentry both might have picked Hutch at the beginning of the season. With you guys are canceled out with that. That pick does not. You guys have officially switched to TJ Watt. I don't.
Wait, what do you mean picked him to do what?
When we did our NFL awards, and it
was TJ Watt.
Oh well,
I'm pretty sure I picked Micah Parsons, but
you picked Aiden Hutchinson. I remember you said, Boone, I'm with you. You're canceled.
No, I think that was after you told us the betting odds and you made a thing about it. But I think in my actual one, I did pick Micah Parsons.
Yeah, listen, guys, Aiden Hutchinson. Oh no, this is it's unbelievable that like there's like a little bit of disrespect. I feel like here.
What?
I do. I gave you guys
second behind TJ Watt.
I gave you guys the stats yesterday of comparing him and TJ Watt over the last 13 games, and Aiden Hutchinson, Jarrest, like big time, has been played better than TJ Watt. Not over just 2 games, over 13 games. So like Aiden Hutchinson is right there, and if Hutch goes like right now, I think like I know the odds show TJ Watt. This is Hutch's award. Like, if I know it's only 2 weeks, it's his award to lose. If he goes out there, and someone said in the chat, if he has a sack a game, averages a sack a game over the last 15, that's 20-something sacks.
But he's
going to win it.
He won't do that, though.
You're telling me he can't in a 15-game stretch. Jeff, over the last 13 games, he's had 15 and a half sacks. Like, you're acting like that stretch of football is bad. In his last 13 games he's played in the NFL, he has averaged over 1 sack per game. So you're saying in the next 15 games, that next stretch of football, all he needs to do is average 1 a game when he's done more than that the last 15 games? Come on, man. Come on. What are we? I literally am giving the data to you. I'm laying the data on a silver platter to you.
Yeah,
to say,
but Boone.
I'm helping you out here.
You're talking about.
Good night, Anakin, by the way.
You're talking about. You're talking about what they've done the last handful of games, and you're absolutely right.
I gave you a 13-game stretch. 13 games.
We're talking about, and now, Klotzy, this is where we align. Projection. This is projection. We're projecting TJ Watt to ultimately win the award. Now, right now, yeah, you're right. Like, the dude's on fire. We just feel differently how it'll end. You still think he'll be number 1, lead the league in sacks and win it? That's all. Like, I don't think you're crazy. I just disagree with that.
Right.
I'm going to remember that. You 3. That's all.
And I'm not saying I'm not going to gatekeep whether you guys can celebrate or not. That's up to you. But I will tell you guys what. If Aiden Hutchinson does win it, I will make sure I remember this moment. I remember the moment.
Absolutely.
And I will make sure you guys don't get to celebrate as much as the chat, because the chat's been all over Hutch defense.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell. I'm going to tell you I was wrong.
So I just want it known. I'm going to make sure it's known.
Did you put the bet in, Boone?
0.
I don't have a bet. I don't have any futures.
He didn't really believe.
No, okay, we're not doing that.
I'm just kidding.
I don't have any future
Put
bet.
your money where your mouth is.
I don't have any
didn't
future bet
believe.
in this season. No, don't. Come on, Jen. You don't need to put that on me. You know what's going to come on.
You put him in a predicament now.
I mean,
I know you believe. You've been pushing it since day one.
It's unbelievable. You guys, just because you guys don't want to go out on a limb.
Hey, none of
Only
that.
future bet I have in my phone
None of
right now
that
is the Detroit Tigers to make the playoffs. That's all I have.
Which, now since we're entering mailbag, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the Twins won. So
Yeah, they did. So the Tigers have to win.
I think the Tigers were tied 1-1 last time I checked.
Mailbag though.
All right, let's get to mailbag.
Jeff's dead.
You
You got quiet over there. You haven't been saying it. I don't know what's out. Yeah, you're alive.
Hey, we're good. All right, let's get the mailbag. All right, let's get the mailbag. Any questions, drop them in the chat. Let's see. TJ Watt, the back half of the season, not the front, the back, had 4 sacks once, 3.5 sacks twice. Do you really think Hutch can't match that with 15 games left?
Okay, we're talking about the back half of the season. I pulled his last 13 games and Hutch's last 13 games.
No, he's with you. He's literally agreeing with you.
I was starting to cook a little bit.
He's literally agreeing.
Shout out to Tour.
Hutch can't match that with 15 games left.
Yeah, shout out to Tour. I get into this with Hutch. When it comes to Aiden Hutchinson, I'm ready to roll. Don't worry. Anytime, anywhere, I'm ready to go.
Hey.
It's like, I don't know if you guys know. I don't know if you guys know Jersey Jerry. I talk to you guys about Jersey Jerry all the time. Great person. Spoke with him, but he has he's a big TJ Watt guy, and he has one of those, like the quarterback play sheets on it. Yeah, he has one that has all of TJ Watt's stats. So anytime anyone walks up to him around anywhere, he just instantly go ahead, and he pulls it out, and he'll be ready to roll. That's me with Hutch. I'm gonna make a wristband for myself.
No, you gotta have the notepad, Boone, like a playbook.
Oh, I'll have that too, and I'll type up all the stats and everything. I'll have every stat ready to go. Best in the league.
Did you know over the last
13 games and carried around in your back pocket at all
times? A coach's one?
Yeah.
Like an Andy Reid coaching sheet?
What about that? You know what? I'll give you a take. This right here, kneecap biting with the Motor City Lions. Mailbag through 35 games, Hutch has more sacks than Lawrence Taylor. I mean, you could just say he will be the GOAT.
Hall of Famer. Hall of Famer.
It's actually wild.
Just
Hey, but you guys don't want to give the kid some credit. It's crazy, man.
Oh, stop that, Boone. We give him credit saying he's not going to win.
That's gaslighting, Boone.
That's gaslighting. That is gaslighting.
You know what, Boone? You didn't give him credit because you didn't bet on him. You didn't really believe.
No, I mean, come on.
You want to go
I
there?
don't bet on
You
any
want to go there, Boone?
I don't bet on any futures. The people know I have a receipt. The best bet that I could have is I have a receipt from March being the first one in the city of Detroit to say, book it, Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, well,
True, Booner.
Could have a bet ticket.
Yeah, I would rather have the receipt of me saying it in March than a bet receipt.
Could have the bet receipt in March too.
Yeah. The Purple Princess Mailbag. Why do Detroit fans always undersell Detroit players? I know. I think
Crazy Purple Prince. These guys, they just don't want to give the guys credit.
I actually vehemently disagree. I think Detroit fans overhype players at times, and that's okay. Like you should.
What you're saying about me right now.
I'm just saying that's at least my experience covering Detroit sports, and it's not a bad thing. It's just the reality. I think fans overhype players, not overhype, but they do. Like like everyone. You talk about any player in Detroit. Like even I with I'll do it. I do it too. We all do it. But undersell? Like you really think Detroit fans undersell players? Like do you think?
Feels like it sometimes.
I don't think saying Hutch will be top 3, top 5 in Defensive Player of the Year is underselling him, to be honest.
No, I mean that's like an all-pro.
That's still like a very good accomplishment. We talked about him being an all-pro too. So
yeah,
we're saying I think Hutch is going to be better than Myles Garrett this year. I think he's going to be better than Nick Bosa this year. I think the guys that I would have him on the same tier as this year is probably Micah Parsons, Max Crosby, and TJ Watt. Those are probably the guys. And you can order that however you want. But I just think that TJ Watt gets it this year. He's a first. TJ Watt will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Hutch is on track to be first ballot Hall of Famer.
Stop disrespecting. I'm just kidding. No.
We can't give him credit.
No,
we can't do that.
Purple Prince says, I'm just saying he's our guy and he's just had 4.5 sacks in one game. Let's have some fun this week. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not mad at the take. Hey, listen, Boone, I'm not mad at Boone's take at all. Absolutely not. It's literally one or the other. And I'm sticking to my guns. I'm sticking with the guy I said before this season. But yeah, Hutch is I'll say better than anyone else. I mean, he's been like the best defensive end through 2 games. Like you guys
just don't want to kind of. What's craziest to me is there's 4 of us here.
We literally just gave him credit.
I know you're giving him credit, but what's crazy to me is there's 4 of us here. And he's first in every category as an edge rusher. And the last 13 games, he's better than TJ Watt. And no one wants to jump the side and come over to my side. I'm trying everything just to get one of you guys.
Take pride in that, Booner.
I'm trying to get one of you guys over here. Like someone, just please.
Maybe, hey, Boone, just maybe not right now because it's 2 weeks. Maybe give it another 2 weeks. Hutch goes out there and throws Kyler Murray.
I don't know if I want you guys on the bandwagon after that.
Oh, you don't control the bandwagon.
I think I do. I actually think that one.
He's got
that one. I think I do.
No, you don't got no key.
And I will say, all the people in the chat, they're all on it with me. No, but there is a point.
Remember it, Boone. We're not.
Tonight's a cutoff point.
We're not mad. We're not mad. You're gonna feel how you feel about it. That's fine. You could be right at the end of the day. We're not saying that this is a bad take, Booner. We're not saying that.
No, he knows.
Yeah. It's all right. Chat, if you have your moment, we'll make sure that we contribute and support and let you guys know that you were right.
Why are we doing like a post-game press conference because we disagree with Boone? Like, no, fuck that.
I'm just saying, don't hop on in 4 weeks. Like, no, get on, jog on with that.
No, if TJ Watt falls off a cliff and Hutch continues to ascend, I'm going to come on this show and say, no, stop that shit. I'm going to come on this show. And I'm going to be like, hey,
to fall off a cliff.
If Hutch is in the lead, I'm going to tell you Hutch is in the lead. Like, I'm not like, it's my opinion, like
So is he in the lead? Is he in the lead right now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Case closed. Jury, judge. That's my case. I rest my case.
You know what? I just can't. I don't know what to do.
So you think Hutch is going to slow down?
I
Dude,
don't
he had
think he'll have 4.5
sacks
sacks in a game. Yeah, I don't think he's going to do that this week. Another 4.5 sacks. So yes, I think he'll.
Imagine if he does, Booner will.
Yeah, Booner's gonna be. We'll never hear the end of that.
That victory lap's gonna be insane. He's gatekeeping. He's putting the lock on it.
I mean, he doesn't even need a full sack per game to get to 20 this year. Like he needs like 0.9 per game. Like it's not even like a full sack a game. Like to get to 7.
Sack. That's a sack.
I mean, like he's under. Like that's how good he's been the last 2 years. Only time will tell.
Absolutely, Boone. Absolutely.
Fun show. I've had a blast tonight.
It was a good one.
Gone at it with you guys, chat. It's been a good night.
All right. Well, hey, appreciate you guys so much, man. Get your merchandise, officialcgsports.com. Appreciate the support you guys continue to give us. This weekend, we'll be covering the game. Tune in tomorrow, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. What a show. Fucking, you mean if you guys are still listening, we appreciate you. Until tomorrow, we'll catch you. Stay blessed out there. Diggity dog.